Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good? Yo, what's going down out here? Yes, this your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again, always with another one. And yes, indeed, it is another one. So we're doing it live here, and yes, I don't have my soundboard, so yeah, we're gonna kick it. It is what it is out here. So yeah, I got a lot of things going on here in this broadcast tonight, and this is how it's going to go down. So yeah, we got the situation dealing with the migrants. We're also going to get into the Laken Riley trial just a little bit to kind of see what's going on, and a few other things. I think that this election is showing a lot of faces and things like that have been lurking in the underbelly of our society, with a lot of hatred and things like that going on. And also, we're dealing with a pandemic of people that ought not need to be here and screwing up our tax dollars. We've heard from the mayor in Chicago. He's gonna take a stand. The I think it's the governor of Massachusetts. She's not going to allow. She's not going to help. They're not going to help the mayor and stuff like that. California is really not speaking up whether or not they're going to help with the deportation situation. But it is what it is out here, people. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at, and this is the day and time that we in. So yeah, shout out to all my subscribers out there. Definitely hit that like, share, subscribe button for me. Show me some love. Get down in the comments. I do talk back, whether you know what I'm saying, like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Whether you agree or disagree. Get down and let me know. Talk to me, and I do talk back. So all right, we're about to dive off into we're going to go straight to dingbat time in this particular situation. So here we go. Yes, please relax yourself. So, all right, here we go. We're diving off into dingbat time. I got a situation right here to where this she's going to explain where all these billions of dollars is going, but they're not going to the right place. Here we go.
3 billion. 66 on illegals, 3 billion on people who have laid down their lives for this country. Can anyone explain up there why that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one is including all sorts of benefits, and one is just looking at a very, very narrow slice.
No, I'm using the same numbers. Sir, you are. I am using apples to apples.
It would be a very different.
I'm using apples to apples. So since you know, why don't you share with me?
Right.
We don't track U.S. We don't track U.S. veterans in the census, so that would be very helpful if we did. Then I would be able to give you a very.
But do you know the answer? Because I do. I do. So I appreciate your opinion, of which you have no facts on, but let me continue and let me educate you some more. The federal government, breaking that $66 billion down, let's look at what we fund. So you might want to get a pencil and paper and take some notes, because I'll help you do your job. 5.8 billion in SNAP, 10 billion in Medicare, 8.2 billion in uncompensated hospital expenditures, 3 billion for primary and secondary education for illegal immigrants, excuse me. And how many illegal immigrants are given taxpayer-funded housing compared to the number of homeless veterans that are sleeping on the street? You don't know because you don't want to know. You don't want to see the numbers. Well, I do, and I can share with you the American people do.
And yes, the American people do, and this is the problem right here. She's talking about all these billions of dollars that are going, of course, to the illegals and things like that. But we have veterans out here, the same veterans that, what I'm saying, Joe Biden just recently gave the okay for Ukraine to go to, shoot certain type of missiles and things like that. But these are our veterans that at the end of the day, if the shit really pops off over there, we're going to have to send boots on the ground. Regardless of what we think, how wars fall, even though we have technology, stuff like that, we still need boots on the ground. And there's still going to be soldiers that need to go over there. So we're not even protecting our own veterans. We're not even housing our own veterans, things like that. This is crazy out here. Let's keep going.
I'll share with you, the people in my district in Michigan of the 9th district, we care about our homeless veterans. We care about our veterans. And yes, we care about them a little bit more than we care about people who have broken the law to get here illegally. So I actually have some suggestions and maybe some answers on how to fix it. Instead of $66 billion, here are a couple things we could spend. The White House has requested $13 million for the National Call Center for homeless veterans. I'm going to say it again, $13 million with an M, right? Maybe we could find that out of that 66 billion, right? Different between million and billion, big difference. We could funnel some more of that 66 billion to our homeless veterans. Anyone opposed to that? Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it? Anybody got an idea?
That sounds like a plan to me.
Anybody?
That sounds like a plan to me.
An idea? Why we're not, God bless you, why we're not doing it. I'll tell you why we're not doing it, because the Biden administration does not want to do it. Am I correct? Am I incorrect on that? I didn't think so. Thank you.
Right. But they willing to send our young men and women off to war, off to a battleground for a war that we ought not need to be in and things like that. It's tragic out here. This is sickening and this is totally disrespectful. All right. So we're going to go to the next one in Dean Bad Time. Trump got a little something to say, and I'm going to let him ride.
Are building up other countries. We're finally building up our country, standing up for our workers and fighting for our forgotten communities. The first and highest duty of government is to take care of its own citizens.
Right.
African Americans built this nation through generations of blood, sweat, and tears. And you, like all of our citizens, are entitled to a government that puts your needs, your interests, and your families first.
Right. But at the end of the day, though, we had, African Americans vote democratically this year, at an overwhelming vote. More than white people, Asians, Indians. It's astounding to me, the daydream that, or basically the nightmare that the Black African American culture is still in. It makes no sense to me how they're not doing their due diligence en masse to actually figure things out. They're just believing propaganda. They're just trying to keep going with the same rhetoric and trying to get different results. And it doesn't make any damn sense to me. And it's stupid and it's crazy out here. All right, we're going to keep going. I got a little something else for you. Let's go here now.
For the election, 100,000 Amish went to the polls in Pennsylvania. Right. Voted for Donald Trump and took the goddamn state from her.
Right.
She was going to win the state. She was going to win Pennsylvania. The Amish came in, dropped 100,000 votes and bust her ass right out based on that Biden shit. I'm mad as shit on that shit. Not because I care about her, but that's power. I want that power, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Because guess what? They going to talk to the Amish after this. You can best believe when the next election comes, somebody coming to the Amish like, y'all know y'all can sell that goat milk. Well, y'all need anything? Y'all having any trouble? They coming to kiss the Amish ass. And not only that.
And the Amish show did. And see, this is the demographic of America that, the Democratic Party was not counting upon to speak up. Because for years now, let's just keep this real. For years now, the Amish community, all these other states that y'all saw on that map had turned completely red. That was not turned. It was completely red already. Those states that were not significant places and things like that, that made up the popular vote. And that's the reason why she actually, lost it. The Democratic Party had became so precedent, so worried about the black vote and things like that. That's the reason why they had all these superstars out here, black superstars, stuff like that, coming to try to, play all these games and stuff like that with our mental status, and thought that this shit was going to work. But the rest of America was not hooked on that. The rest of America was not hooked on the African American, black people, this and that. They seen over the process of what happened with Obama's election, all these other elections with the Democratic Party and stuff like that. They seen how black people have been voting in this country for well over at least a good 40 to 60 years. They seen us and the way that we've been voting. And the rest of the country, kind of was going along to get along for the longest until it came to this precedence right here. This is, what I'm saying? They went along to get along when we voted Obama in and stuff like that. They went along to get along and things like that. But after Trump came in with that little break from the Democratic Party that we had, because let's go back. Of course, George W. Bush, it was a complete catastrophe with that. But they had a break from seeing what was going on with the Obama administration, and then he came in with Trump. Trump made things a little bit better. Gas was straight, all types of things. The economy was good. This shit can't be denied. And then Biden and Kamala get in and stuff like that, and all this shit going to hell right now. It is crazy right now. You know what I'm saying? He's still out here trying to give, legal status to people that ought not need to be, shooting things in certain places overseas. But yeah, though, they didn't think about the Democratic Party did not think about the other Americans outside of black people, because they're so used to having black people just running every damn thing, and thought that was just going to be, it is what it is. But the rest of America said, no, we're sick of you people. We're sick of you. We're sick of you. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna just be honest with you. The rest of America was like, we're sick of y'all. We're sick of y'all with your selfishness and your debauchery and your stupidity and things like that. The rest of America was sick of black people and the way that we voted, because we didn't have no type of discernment. We didn't have no type of knowledge on our voting process. We didn't have any type of understanding to, well, maybe we've been doing, maybe we've been voting wrong for so long. Maybe we need to take a step back. Maybe we need to figure out, who to properly vote for. Maybe we need to try to do this to get better results. But the rest of America figured out how much the black community is so fucking selfish. And they saw it in the elections. They saw it this election. They saw how the majority of black people voted in this country and things like that. They saw this. Let's keep going.
Donald Trump promising them shit already. He already promising them get on. He gonna get on the FDA. Farmers is gonna be able to farm their land. Remember, you saying it in the campaign. Farmers,
right?
The Amish, they're purists. They want to farm their cows.
Right.
Why not? That's power, Bob. That's power that we don't have because we got hoes in charge.
That's right.
We listening to Jamal Bryant, some big sissy. We listening to T.D. Jakes, get swallowed. 2, 3, or 4 big sissies running up and down the stage. That's who giving us advice on how we supposed to move.
And that's why the black church is going off the rails out here. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and I'm not against anybody that live their life the way that they want to live it. But it's also strategical things in place to keep our society going, and also to keep our society respected by the rest of the world. I'm not giving a fuck what people want to do in their personal lives, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Trump don't nobody really care what you do in your personal life. But the thing of it is how we respect it on the world stage. And I'm getting tired of people not understanding that logic. We have the rest of the world to worry about. America's not a fucking bubble on this planet. We can't just exclude the rest of the world and think that we just, this superpower, because we're not. It's easy for power to get lost on this planet. And that's what people don't understand. You don't know your history. We had regimes rise and fall. Rome, Greece, Egypt, it could go on. Mesopotamia, the Persians, thousands of years ago. Regimes rise and fall. And if they don't actually do right, things like that, they will fall. And that's our problem. Hell, America ain't been around, but what, 500 years, maybe? A little bit more than that? Or a little bit less? We're not even that much of a fucking superpower if you think about the history of superpowers. Hell, Rome even lasted 1,000 fucking years. We ain't even been in this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? A good 500 years yet almost. And we already almost off the rails around here. This is crazy.
Just why we need a brotherhood and a powerful brotherhood.
That's right.
Because them Amish did it and nobody saw it coming.
Right. And the Amish did it, and it is what it is. All right. So I got a couple of other things here that we're going to get into. Hold on. Let's go here now. I got a few things I want to show you guys that of course with the Twitter situation, and we're going to dive off into it. I want to show you guys how things are going. Hold on here. I want to show you guys how things are going with this illegal situation and stuff like that. And look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. Let's see. They know Trump is going to close the borders, so they're trying to sneak as many people in as they can. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Let me cut the volume down just a little bit. Excuse me. Look at this. Look at this.
I'm taking a video, bro. I got pictures.
Are they hiding people in the beds of fat bed trucks? You know, the trucks with the hips. That's what my grandmother used to call them back in the day. The trucks with the hips. You know what I'm saying? They extend out a little wide. And hey, though, that is a good place to hide a lot of shit now. Let's keep this real.
Yep.
Look at this. There's like 2 people in there.
Oh, wait.
What is that? What the hell is that? Man, all right. Y'all crazy out here. These people are crazy. And they're doing it. They're doing it. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. So, you know what I'm saying? We got this right here. Hold on. I got you guys. Let's go here now. Look at this. Look at this. In the floor of the car. In the floor. Man, they trying everything to get over here. They're trying everything to get over here. And all you American people sitting around here are not understanding how dire of a situation this is. This is a dire situation for these people. These people are trying hard to get over here. They're trying hard as hell. This is crazy out here. This is crazy. All right. So we're going to go and check this out real quick.
Undocumented, and you support Donald Trump.
I support Donald Trump for the economy.
2 Hispanic families with mixed legal status in Houston with 2 different takes on President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. This is the Espinosa's first gathering since Trump's win.
How many of you fear that deportation could impact your family?
Cesar Espinosa, a husband and father, was a DACA recipient until this summer when he got a green card. His sister and brother-in-law are DACA recipients. His sister-in-law is a green card holder, and the rest of his family here are U.S. citizens. Some who are not present are undocumented.
You're a green card holder. Your wife is a U.S. citizen. Why are you afraid of deportation?
I just became a green card holder after 33 years of being in this country. I don't think people understand the fear. It's a constant shadow hanging over.
Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. Hold on now. You said you just got your situation after 33 years of being here. Now, listen, look. This is the problem right here. And as a human being first, I can understand the mindset behind something like this. If I was to migrate to another country and things like that, I could get it, you know, from the perspective of the mindset. But listen, look, sir, you've been here for 33 years. You built a whole family, and you haven't, you know, I mean, how can you not have tried to get your immigration status together in 33 years? Hold on. He said it himself.
The rest of his family here are U.S. citizens. Some who are not present are undocumented.
You're a green card holder. Your wife is a U.S. citizen. Why are you afraid of deportation?
I just became a green card holder after 33 years of being in this country. I don't think people understand the fear. It's a constant shadow hanging over our heads.
What was your reaction to Donald Trump winning?
I cried a lot. It was emotional. Have my family, like, if they're gonna be here or they're not gonna be here, and how do you tell all of our kids? Like, my nephews, they're also our kids.
To tell people that this doesn't live in kids and children's mind and teenagers and young adults' life is a lie.
Gelasio Velasquez is an undocumented mechanic who has worked in Houston for 25 years.
Oh.
He plays in this park with his 2 U.S. citizen children, ages 5 and 9, and stands by Donald Trump.
So you support Donald Trump because of the economy,
For the economy, yes.
but you don't support the anti-immigrant rhetoric.
I'm not support the anti-immigrant action.
Do you support his mass deportations?
No, it's not human.
Are you afraid that you could?
Hold on, sir. It's not human. But you come into this country illegally. Like the other gentleman just said, he was here for 33 years and things like that. And so we are just supposed to let the laws that are in place, we're supposed to just negate these laws and stuff like that, and in order to have some type of emotional, alliance to, humanity. And okay, fine, I understand it, but at the same time, though, too, if that's the case, why as humans do we, put certain laws in place and things like that and certain restrictions? If that's the case, then fine. Well, let's just, relax the laws on everything then. Let's relax the laws on, deleting people. Let's relax the laws on our traffic stops. Let's just get rid of the law altogether. I mean, it makes no sense. I get it from his perspective, because at the end of the day, though, he's wanting to, stay here and things like that. But he has not done the due diligence to keep being here.
Be deported in this mass deportation?
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Espinosa runs a migrant advocacy group and says many people are afraid and have called him in tears.
I think there's a heightened sense of fear.
Explain why Latino men are going to Trump.
Democrats forget the promise when these guys are in the office in Washington. The Latinos want a better nation.
Espinosa believes some of the Latino support for Trump was a vote against the prospect of the first black female president.
There's still a lot of machismo. There's still a lot of misogyny. And something that we need to say aloud is there's a lot of anti-blackness.
Velasquez.
Wow, a lot of misogyny and anti-blackness from the Latino community. And I get it. Things like that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's race. It is racism that runs in this country. But at the same time, though, too, that should not stop anybody from achieving what they want to achieve. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, though. Everybody want to sit around here. Oh, it's a lot of misogyny. And to be honest with you, though, if you look at the numbers, there were women that also voted for Donald Trump as well. So, yes, I guess, of course, women can be misogynist as well. And, it's a lot of misandry going on around here that nobody ever really mentions and things like that, and misandry is the hatred towards men. So, it's a lot of that going on around here, misogyny and misandry. So, it just is what it is, people.
Says he hopes Trump finds compassion for immigrant fathers like him who are not criminals.
If you get deported, would you regret your support to Donald Trump?
No me arrepentiría.
He's saying that he wouldn't regret supporting Donald Trump. So you're really not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your children and the future of your children.
Yes, I want the better for my children.
Cesar says.
Right. Because be honest with you, though, what it is, even though he's not legally here, his children are, because they've been born on American soil. So I get where he's coming from.
He feels guilty for bringing so much uncertainty to his family.
What's it like for you to see your wife go through this and the emotions that she's going through?
I apologize to her a lot. But we fell in love right away. And we got married almost right away, because when you know, you know.
We asked Velázquez and Espinosa the same final question.
Do you have a plan in case you get deported?
I respect that decision. I leave the country. I'm not coming back.
There is a plan. We've talked about it openly with our family.
Turns out, these two Hispanic families with two different takes on Trump's win have the same plan if they get deported. They would go to Mexico as a family.
So, it is what it is on that, and listen, look, I get it, but at the same time though, too, they both been here for, one has been here for 20 years, the other one's for 30 years. It's like how you here this many decades and haven't gotten things together. I don't understand that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You obviously you've been working. Obviously, have you been paying into the tax system? Things like that. If you're undocumented, how are you paying into the tax system as well? Like, it's the complications of the situation. And that's the problem right here that we're having, is that, we have these, illegals, and this shit is now coming out that, some of these people have been over here for 30 years. And it's like, how have you been over here this long? And we've also, and the thing of this is, other administrations have also deportated illegal people. So obviously, they did not get deportated. So, deported. So, it's like, come on, man. Come on. All right. So, yeah, that was Dean Bad Time. And yeah, we're gonna sign out. Oh! Yeah, that's what it do out here. Shout out to all my subscribers. Yeah. It is what it is, though. Man, please. This is crazy. All right, so hold on here. Because I got a lot of things that I'm going to present to you guys. What's going on here? What is going on? Yep. All right. So we're about to keep going, and we're about to check on this deportation situation here. And yeah, so we're going to go here now, and we're going to see what has been said. Trump has, declared plans to, put the military in certain spaces. So let's go here now. Let's check this out.
Donald Trump confirmed on Monday that he would use military forces to enact the largest deportation in American history. He said this on Truth Social in response to Tom Fitton saying that there were reports that he would use these military forces and that he would also declare a national emergency when he came into office. Trump replied, "True," in all caps, as is in Trump fashion, on Truth Social to that post. He's been saying that he wants to act on the border on day one, and he's even appointed a new position, border czar, and has put former ICE chief Tom Homan into that position. And Tom Homan has said that he would do anything to enact this mass deportation and that he would go to both the southern and the northern border in the first week of coming back into office. Trump has also said that he would use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which would allow him to deport more migrants through enacting war on them through Congress. However, him declaring a national emergency, as he said today, or the Alien Enemies Act could possibly run into legal hurdles. As for the Alien Enemies Act, Congress would have to enact war first, and it hasn't been done in decades, could lead to some legal problems there. And also for the national emergency, it's unclear which specific forces Trump could use from the military. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 limits the federal government from using the military to enforce domestic policy. So it's unclear if the Army could be used, if the Navy could be used, but the act does not prohibit the National Guard or the Coast Guard from being used. So Trump could possibly try to use those forces as well.
For more stories.
So at this point right now, of course, the armed forces, our Army and things like that, of course, cannot be used on American soil, which I get it. Just like, saying the CIA cannot, operate within the United States, and it is what it is. We got to take all these things with a grain of salt, because behind the scenes, things go on. It is what it is. But yes, the Army and stuff like that, they can't just go on, but the National Guard and things like that can actually, help. And they do help. Like when major storms happen and things like that, the National Guard will get called in at certain points and stuff like that to help with situations. So this is just reality of the point and things like that. He's declared he will declare a national emergency, which I get it, because to round up these illegals and things like that, it is a national emergency, because these are people that are breaking the law of our system. So I mean, what do you want? What more do you want? Do you want people? Do you want laws being broken and stuff like that? Do you want people that come over here and just disregard and disrespect us as American citizens and things like that, to do whatever it is that they want to do? So it's crazy out here. Hold on, I got a few things that I'm going to check on here. Y'all bear with me. So yeah, it just is what it is here. All right. Excuse me. Okay. So before we get too deep, we're going to go to where are you? I got another one that I want to show you guys. All right. We're going to go here now and we're going to see what's going on.
Mass deportations. Tonight, many are waiting for the rollout of immigration policies under a second Trump presidency. Undocumented families living here for decades say they're worried. Thanks for staying with us at 5:30. I'm Hunter Sowards.
And I'm Curtis Meng, your reporter covering San Joaquin County. Esteban Reynoso is live in Stockton getting answers on what mass deportations could mean for the community.
Well, Hunter, Curtis, ag is #1 in San Joaquin County. And what makes that industry go? The 340,000 farm workers that are there, with a large majority of those undocumented. Now, we sat down with 2 of them tonight as this looming deportation plan hangs over their family's head.
The Mendoza family has been in California for over 2 decades, working in San Joaquin County's fields and farms.
We are not calm because there's going to be harsher raids and with more force.
Donald Trump's presidential election victory has the Mendoza's anxiety at an all-time high.
One can only be worried.
They pay taxes, own a home, and work in the fields, but they're worried about what's next since they arrived here illegally.
Being a daughter of immigrants.
It is sad. It is very moving, because you don't know what to expect the next day. You don't know what's going to happen.
Their daughter, Giovanna, was born in the U.S. and is now a college student. Roughly 75% of farm workers in California are undocumented, just like her parents.
We have our lives and our work here.
My question is why is that possible? They just 75%. Why is that possible? Why haven't these places where they work, because I guarantee these people work for other people, why haven't these people helped these individuals to get citizenship? And then at the same time too, what if that's the case, if they are helping, why is it taking so long? And I mean, listen, look, the other dude was here for like 30 years and don't have citizenship. 20 years. This makes no sense. How are you here this long and don't have legal citizenship?
There's a lot of problems coming from above, and we don't know what's going to happen.
But at the same time, too, listen, look, other administrations have been deporting people as well. The Obama administration deported a lot of people that were not here legally. So how did these families escape that? How did these, families escape the deportation situation and stuff like that? I mean, like, what is everybody scared about now? Like, this makes no sense. Why haven't you gotten your immigration status to a legal point by now?
And they're not alone in their worries.
So our phones have been ringing off the hook by a lot of folks who are concerned about the president's promise to create a mass deportation program.
Jose Rodriguez is the president of El Concilio, California's Stockton branch. He says before November 5th, there were hardly any calls about deportation. Now it's 10 to 15 calls about it an hour.
Calm them down, letting them know that no plan has been put in place yet. And even whatever plan is put in place, people have certain civil rights.
We're a nation of immigrants, but the idea is we want to do this process legally. We owe that to the people who have came here the right way.
GOP chair of San
Right. And the people that have came here the right way, it's just the truth.
Joaquin County, Pastor Dwight Williams says the process of immigration needs to be streamlined.
I am in favor of comprehensive immigration reform, but I don't believe that will be made possible until the border is secured first.
But with no clear plan yet, Giovanna is being reminded of family separation.
We were more and more worried. I was 16.
I was a minor still. Oh, wow, yeah. So I was like,
how am I going to take care of my siblings? Where are we going to live?
Now, until we know whether or not the Trump administration will begin those deportations in any way, some advocacy groups like El Concilio here in Stockton, they are going to be here for any questions that people may have that may be in this particular situation. They're committed in helping the immigrant community.
And I definitely get it. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong with that, and it just is what it is at that point. Because, man, and see, this is the thing here. A lot of these people do not have their immigration status together. And that's the point. It's like, how are you here this many decades for some? How are you here this many decades and don't have your immigration status together? And then also to the majority of the situation about this, deportation is getting the criminals of, the illegals out of here. That's what it's really about. But of course, things trickle down, shit hits the fan, and, it's a process to the situation to where a lot of people are going to get caught up in it. And I definitely get it. I definitely get it. All right. Hold on. All right. So we're going to go here now and we're going to check this out and see what Fox has going on. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Look at this. ICE sources telling the New York Post that agents, quote, can't wait to get back onto the streets after President-elect Trump's incoming border czar said he may have to go ahead and, quote, flood agents to sanctuary cities in order to enact President-elect's policies. Meantime, House Democrats tell Fox News that Trump's plans for deportation are going to be really disastrous for the economy. Listen.
I think it would wreck our economy.
$88 billion to just process and deport 1 million people. Do the math. How is he going to pay for it?
Separating families, pulling out essential workforce, increasing inflation. But none of those are things that our neighbors want us to be doing.
All right, let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary. Jonathan, let's start there with what those Democrats told Hillary Vaughn on Capitol Hill today. they are not wrong when they say enacting Trump's plans are going to be expensive. The question is, how does that price tag stack up with the trillions of dollars the Fed has been spending and local governments to house, feed, and support the millions of people who've crossed the southern border illegally?
And right, before he gets started, this is the truth. We've already been spending a crazy ton of taxpayers' money on housing, clothing, all these people in these sanctuary cities and things like that. And now at this point, they've also trickled out to other places in the United States and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I just did a report about what's going on in Tennessee. They're getting the Trinidad Lager there, things like that. You know, Indiana had its little spurts about it. Of course, Denver. Listen, look, man, this is the problem here. And yeah, we're trying to figure things out, but the thing of this is, it's no way to figure. It's nothing to figure out except for just getting rid of these people and using our tax money to actually for actually, tax paying American citizens. It's not that hard. It is not that hard.
You're exactly right. They never talk about that. And that's kind of the funny thing about that. It's too expensive to deport people. But the latest thing, there was a study, I think it was in June of this year, and it's been reported by the New York Post, that just last year it was $150 billion just to pay for illegal immigrants in terms of education, healthcare, other types of things. That doesn't even count the things like the rising cost of housing, the reduced access to medical care. So really, it's kind of funny because if we're talking about costs, we probably save money by deporting people. But the thing that's really amazing, which I think is the most important point here, is they're fighting against people coming into sanctuary cities from deporting people. And as you know, the sanctuary cities, they're fighting to keep people that are criminals in this country, people that are in jails, people that have been convicted of crimes. So it's so remarkable.
Right. Right. Brandon Johnson up in fucking Chicago. I'm gonna stick with the migrants. You know, and I'm gonna raise your taxes, even though that shit just got shot down. Thank God that the people in Chicago, you know what I'm saying, decide to shoot that down and stop Brandon Johnson from raising taxes and shit, which is crazy though. But I get it though. At the same time though, too, yes, Chicago did vote for that bat. They did vote for that Democrat. But the thing of it is, yes, he wasn't expecting for Chicago to wake the fuck up out there and be on some real trill shit and be like, listen, look, no, you know what I'm saying? This is not going to happen. But the thing of this is, he allowed too much shit to go on in Chicago. He took too many resources to actually house and feed all these illegals and stuff like that. And the citizens of Chicago were starving. And then you trying to raise taxes on them to feed these people like them people stupid. Brandon Johnson is treating his constituents in Chicago like they're stupid. You're going to take our tax money and things like that the government is giving us in order for us to have good streets, roads, education, this and that, woo, in order to feed these people and stuff like that. But then you're going to tell us that you're going to raise the taxes upon us to pay the deficit of what the fuck you got us into. This is crazy out here.
Remarkable that they are fighting ICE to prevent them from deporting rapists or assault and battery defendants or burglars or anything else. They're fighting that tooth and nail. It's truly astonishing. If the people really knew that, I think what sanctuary cities truly were, they would be aghast. But I think, Tom Homan is coming in, and I think he has the support of ICE, the support of law enforcement, the support of the American people, and he's a spine of steel, and I think it's going to do a lot. They're going to deport people, get rid of the most dangerous people quickly, and, people won't want to come in.
The question, though, is not necessarily what does the incoming administration want to do. They've been very, very clear about that. The question is, what can they actually do? Interestingly, Democratic Mayor Eric Adams made a point on this earlier on TV today. I want to get your response to what he says here about how this is going to go down.
Americans have been clear, though. We have a broken immigration system. I don't believe in mass deportation, but we can't deport those who commit crimes in our city. We are not allowed to connect with ICE. This is a failed system. We need to fix it.
So that's the crux of, I mean, obviously you disagree with them, but the crux of the problem there is even if you have the best trained ICE officers in the world who are ready, willing, and able to enact this mass deportation, how are they going to find the people that they seek to deport when you have cities, who legally are not allowed to give them any information?
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges, but I think people find out, ICE finds out when people are in the jails. The problem is the jails won't tell them when they're getting released, so they don't know that people are getting released. So they need to get more cooperation from these sanctuary cities.
My problem is how are we as American citizens are not working with each other in this? How is our legal system not working with each other? From the government to states and things like, how is our legal, and see, this is what's going on here. This is the problem out here. This is the reason why we're having so many issues, is because we are a nation, we are a country that is divided on our systems, policies, and everything that we need to have put in place. We're too divided. We're either two-way left or two-way right. It needs to be a balance in our system. How can this situation be possible to where people that commit crimes that are illegals in this country, and like Eric Adams just said, even if they do lock them up, they cannot legally contact ICE to get them people out of there, to deport them people back to wherever they come from and things like that. How is this possible? We've screwed up our country. We fucked things up so bad to where we're at this point right now to it's ridiculous, and it's a sick mindset that we're in, and it has to be cleaned up.
One of the things they could do is what incentives can they withhold from the sanctuary cities or provide to the non-sanctuary cities? They can also do things like deputize local agents, local police departments to help find people, help arrest them. And I think that one of the most critical things
That's a viable.
That's something they could put state, deputize them or put them on task force to help arrest people.
Oh, so they can deputize state and local officials. Okay. That's something that I guarantee they're probably going to look into.
Support them. But the most important thing is this needs to stop coming in. So once people know that if they come in, they're getting kicked out, they're not going to want to get kicked in. So, and you saw from the first Trump administration. So you look at things like Remain in Mexico, and that once those are in place, the flow stops coming in. There are more resources to go out and find people. People may want to self-deport. And certainly let's get rid of the criminals. Can we all agree on, can we all agree, especially what's going on in Georgia with Laken Riley, can we at least get out the criminals? And
prevention is cheaper than treatment on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to leave it there, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Prevention is better than treatment. And yes, definitely in this situation, we're going to get to Laken Riley soon, because yes, that's definitely need to be talked about and understood. So yeah, it's crazy out here, but this is the facts right now. This is the facts. This is where we at, people. And yeah, we're going to keep going because yeah, we do got a lot to cover in this broadcast and stuff like that. Hold on. Let me get rid of a few things here. Let me clear my browser up. So, you know what I'm saying? We'll be able to see some things. But yeah, though, man, it's crazy out here. And yeah, we got a lot going on. And it's sad and it's disrespectful to us as a country and everything, man. All right, let's see. Hold on. All right, okay. I know what it said. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go here now. And let's see what's happening here because yeah, we got groups of migrants, of course, on their way to America, things like that. Hold on, this was 9 days ago. So yeah, we got to see what's going on here. Let's go here now, people. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, everybody.
Tonight, hundreds of miles south of the border in Mexico, a caravan of migrants chanting, "We are not criminals," is rushing to make it to the U.S.-Mexico border, before the Trump administration is.
Okay, even though, yes, I gotta chime in. I gotta put my quarters, nickels, and dimes here. Even though they say that they're not criminals. Okay, cool, fine. Let's say that they're not. But look at all these look at this mass of people. Look at this. What do you mean, sir? We already are having a problem with housing over here. We already have let over 20 million, you know what I'm saying? Well, almost, into this country, things like that. Why are you, listen, look at all these people that are on their way here. Most of them are men. Look at this. Most of them are men, young men, military age men. I don't see groups of families coming over here. I don't see women and children and their husbands. I don't see none of this. I see groups of men that are coming in. Look at this. I mean, we have no place for you. Housing, all this type of stuff. Where are we supposed to put all these people?
Sworn in. Many carrying their belongings in plastic bags and on their backs. And already starting to voice their fears about not being able to cross into the United States come January. I think it will be much more complicated now, says this man who's traveling from Venezuela. Now we are thinking about finding a way to get through before Trump takes the presidency.
Look at this. How all these people think that our country is supposed to take them in? How are we supposed to feed all of you people? How are we supposed to house all of you people? And yes, as you can see, it's a few women and children in there, just a few. But listen, look, if you look at the big picture of this shit, it's a lot of men. It's a lot of young men, a lot of military age men walking in this crowd, more than women and children. This is ridiculous. How are we supposed to house all you people? And everybody will sit around here and talk about, having a heart and this and that. But financially, we don't even have enough food. We don't even have enough food to feed these people. And look at how we eat as American citizens. Come on now.
DHS officials telling NBC News that they have not yet seen a surge in migrants heading to the United States, but that they want CBP and ICE officials to be prepared.
One of the first calls I'm going to make is to Mexico. You stop letting people come in through our border.
Trump now vowing to deport millions of undocumented migrants, saying his plan has, quote, no price tag. He's also threatening to impose a tariff of 25% on Mexican imports unless Mexico's government curbs what he describes as an onslaught of immigration. Those promises now creating uncertainty and anxiety among migrants making the taxing journey. This caravan, which set off with nearly 3,000 people on Election Day, has dwindled to just about half of its original size, according to Reuters. This man from Venezuela saying now that Trump has won, he doesn't know what to do, but returning to Venezuela for him is like being shot in the head. Migrants in Mexican border cities waiting for legal entry through the CBP-1 program now also worried their plans might be upended. Some, like this woman, are anxious that the appointments they've waited months for under the CBP-1 program could be canceled. On Friday, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum saying she had a, quote, very friendly phone call with Trump in which they congratulated each other's presidential wins and said there will be time in the future to discuss the border issue.
It will be time in the future to discuss the border issue. Listen, look, hold on here. Because we got to check this out. Okay. So she's the newly elected president of Mexico and things like that. And, you know what I'm saying? Trump is the president-elect. He hadn't taken office yet, but she has. And the thing of this is that we're at this point right now. She's already in office down there in Mexico. Why is she still allowing this to go on? You know what I'm saying? Why, if you really want to work with the future president of the United States, why aren't you trying your best to try to cut some things off and also try to cut stuff off for your country? You're allowing a lot of illegals to pass through and things like that, and this is just okay. But at the same time, though, too, I guarantee you, at some point, Mexico, this woman right here is going to want and going to need help from America because they're right at our border. They're our neighbor, just like Canada is. And the thing of this is they're going to need help from America too, because like I always say, in certain broadcasts that I do and things like that, as American citizens, as America period, we are the workhorses of the world. We do actually take in the most goods from all these places, China, stuff like that. If you look into your damn house, a lot of the products and stuff like that you get is made overseas and all this other type of stuff. We barely have anything that's made in America. But nowadays, we want to sit here, and of course, Mexico has its first female president, stuff like that, and we're just supposed to be like, okay, she's going to need to start being tough. She's going to need to being tough. We're not going to be able to allow people into our country that we cannot support financially or physically. Seriously.
Be time in the future to discuss the border issue. Time that many migrants now fear is running out for them.
Okay, Ellison Barber joins us now in studio. So, Ellison, going back to that CBP One app that you mentioned, this is something the Biden administration set up. Has the Trump administration or the Trump team said anything yet about what they're going to do with that?
So it's interesting because they obviously spend so much time talking about their plans as it relates to the U.S.-Mexico border. But in terms of comments about CBP One in particular, really not a lot of detailed comments from Donald Trump himself. However, back in mid-September, we did find where he mentioned CBP One in a post on X and Truth Social. He said in part this, quote, "We will stop all migrant flights, end all illegal entries, terminate the Kamala phone app for smuggling illegals," put in parentheses there, CBP One app. And then he went on to list a couple of other things. So he talked about it.
And that can be kind of chaotic because people are in the queue already in some
Right. People are in the queue. And what he hasn't said, which is what's making so many people panic, he's made this comment saying, I would terminate that app, but hasn't said when that would happen, hasn't said how or how it would fit into his broader immigration policies moving forward. And that's part of why so many people are like, we don't know what's going to happen next, but you said you might get rid of this. Even if it was in that one post, it's leading to a lot of additional questions.
And
So, yeah. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that situation has to get rid of. So to be honest with you, if we really look at this thing, so the CVP One app is, an app that these illegals can get on and stuff like that. So they have an app. How are these people doing all this traveling and stuff like that? Hold on. How are all these people, doing all this traveling and stuff like that, able to use cell phones to get on apps and all this other type of things like that? And also as well, how is it that when our storm hit our country, that, Kamala came out there, she only had $750 for those people. And then they had to get on an app with no electricity around in order to sign up for her. And then Trump had to call Elon Musk to get Starlink out there. And yeah, Starlink came in, and it is what it is. But the thing of this is yes, how are these people able to use this app while they are walking in mass on the road with, technology and, how many thousands of these people are being able to plug up to some type of technology and stuff? I mean, some type of electricity in order to charge their phones and stuff like that to be able to sign up to these apps. This is wild out here. This is wild. This is wild, people. We got to understand what's going on here. It's all games being played. And it's all games being played at all fucking times. And it's sad and it's fucking disrespectful. So, okay. Hold on. All right. So, okay. Yeah. But all right, good people. You know what I'm saying? Y'all hit that like, share, subscribe button out there for me. And yeah, we're gonna keep diving off into it. So listen, look, we got Tom Holmes, and he's going to he was on Como. We're gonna dive off into this just a little bit and see what's going on, okay? Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
Young as 9 that were raped multiple times by a member of the cartel. And I can go on and on and on about the tragedies I've seen. I ran Operation Ice Storm in Phoenix, Arizona, where the cartels were ripping each other's house off, where they were holding illegal aliens waiting for the payment, and they're ripping each other off. And if a migrant couldn't pay his fees, they kill him. And before they kill him, they call the relative who's supposed to pay the fee, and they forced him to listen, torturing the man until they came up with the fees that they demanded. So of all the tragedies I've seen, plus I love the men and women of the Border Patrol. They put their lives online every day. Same with ICE. This can be fixed, and we need to fix it because it's going to save American lives. It's going to save alien lives. It just makes sense. There's no downside in a secure border. I have arguments a lot up on Capitol Hill. Give me one downside in a secure border. What's the downside in less illegal immigration? What's the downside in less fentanyl that killed 250,000 people? What's the downside in less sex trafficking of women and children, which is up now 600%? What's the downside unless people on terrorist watch lists coming across the border? A secure border saves lives. A country can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. That's what national security is all about.
Tom, let's deal with the supply, and then we'll get to the migrants themselves. It used to be coyotes. Okay, now it's cartels. It's all you hear. And do you believe that instead of a national roundup of illegal entrants, our major focus of resources and political pressure on foreign countries should be on stopping the cartels in Mexico and the threat to Mexico that if they don't do it, and supposedly the new leader there is kind of against the idea of taking on the cartels, that will do it? And do you believe you could legally declare them terrorist organizations and use the military to go after cartels?
Well, look, ever since I gave the speech at the RNC, I've had numerous death threats from the cartels against me and my family. And matter of fact, my family isn't with me right now because of the death threats. But, President Trump has promised that he would designate them terrorist organizations. And I believe he should, and he will. And the reason why they should be designated terrorist organizations, the criminal cartels of Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. I just said, 250,000 Americans dying from fentanyl poisonings, and up to 4,000 aliens have died crossing the border. So these cartels are wreaking havoc in this country, and like I said, killed so many Americans. President Trump is committed to doing it, and I think he should, because the cartels are a national security threat to this country. You're getting a fentanyl from China. The precursors, they send it to the criminal cartels. The cartels make this poison and send it across the border. The border violence is now coming across into the United States. The criminal cartels of Mexico is like a Fortune 500 company. I mean, the Jalisco cartels is in 42 countries now. These criminal cartels that smuggle this poison over across the border, it used to be about smuggling into the United States. Now they have a presence in every major city of this country. Now they're taking over the distribution network within the United States. They need to be attacked. They need to be wiped out. Absolutely.
So why isn't that the primary focus instead of rounding up 14 million or whatever the number is people, when all the cartel guys are bad? Not all illegal entrants in this country are bad. Most of them are here trying to build a better life and responding to the economic demands of our job market.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, there's more than one priority. The president has made it a priority. He's going to take on these criminal cartels and call them terrorist organizations and take them out of business, hopefully. The second, and there's parallel priorities. The president's been clear on the stage, and I've been clear. The priorities for the deportation operation are public safety threats and national security threats. Last time I looked at the data, we have over 700,000 illegal aliens in this country that have a criminal conviction and a final order that are walking the streets. So, we got that. That's a priority. And national security threats, those that are deemed by national security threat, either by the FBI or by the intelligence communities that we know are here, and they need to be, they're going to be a priority. But I'll say this, let's talk about the other illegal aliens here. We've had millions of people encounter at our border, over 10 million. All right. Now, anybody goes to immigration court data, Executive Office of Immigration Review, you look at the data of the last decade, it says about 85%, I'm talking an average, about 85% of those who claim asylum at our southern border never get relief from the U.S. government.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to.
Yeah. And that's where we at here. That's where we at. Listen, look, people. And this is crazy right here. The thing, yes, we have, it seems that we having more, illegal criminals than we're having actual citizens that are, law-abiding citizens. But this is the things too that we cannot forget. If you here illegally, then you're here illegally. And that's the problem. And, regardless of whether we like this or not, if they're here illegally, we cannot negate that situation. We have to actually, apply our laws in order to make sure that we are doing the right thing by the citizens and things like that actually here legally. Because the immigrants that come over here legally, they're even pissed off with us now that we've allowed so many illegals to come over here. And that's just the truth. All right. So we're about to go here now. But before we do, well, no. We're about to go here now. Let's see what Cash Jordan got to say about this situation right now. Shout out to Cash Jordan. Love his channel. Real talk. Go give him a subscribe for real though. He talking about the deportation situation as well out of New York. And then we're also going to talk about the deportation out of LA, California area. So, all right, let's dive off into it.
Central promise of Donald Trump's presidential campaign was mass deportations. New York City has about 400,000 undocumented immigrants. If that promise comes to pass, it would have a huge impact on life in the city.
So, around 476,000 individuals live in New York City who are undocumented, and now they're worried that might not last too much longer. Because even though this is America's largest sanctuary city, which still houses around 60,000 asylum seekers, many immigrants of all backgrounds are very worried that federal agents could soon be here looking for them.
President-elect Trump promising mass deportations on day one of his second term. And today, thousands of protesters took to the streets in a show of solidarity and defiance against Trump.
We're here to send a message loud and clear after the election that even though this administration is going to target immigrant communities, that we're here to stay.
New York is a sanctuary city where undocumented immigrants are largely shielded from immigration agents. Those convicted of serious crimes do face deportation, but police commanders believe they're a tiny percentage of the thousands who poured into the city.
Trump's pick for border czar, Tom Homan, promises to carry out his mass deportation plan with or without the cooperation of so-called sanctuary cities.
We'll know who we're going to arrest, where we're most likely to find them.
He's setting up right now a battle between the federal government and the state and city government. Can a locality decide to circumvent federal immigration laws and
setting up a battle? See, this is my issue with this. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, like, how are you I don't know if what that dude just said, if he's a natural born American or not, you know what I'm saying? And things like that, but how are you definitely, of course, I'm gonna start here first. Of course, you know what I'm saying? We're all immigrants to this country. But the thing of this is that this country is set up now to a certain degree to where we've allowed enough immigrants in throughout the decades and the centuries to where like we have a stable society now to a degree. And you know what I'm saying? We can't just allow just a shit ton of immigrants to come in. Even when people came in Ellis Island back in the early 20th century, they still had to go through a port of, immigration. They still had to go through certain legalization and legalizing processes to where they actually became, citizens of this country. They just weren't coming across the border, just running across the border, and then they're staying over here for 30 fucking years, and then all of a sudden we just supposed to accept the fact that, of course, you've been here for 30 years, you got your family, stuff like that. I get it, but at the same time too, you still came over here fucking illegally, and then on top of that, you haven't even got your immigration status together after 30 fucking years. So, like, what are you talking about here?
Prohibit federal law enforcement from doing its job.
If we can't get assistance from New York City, even we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City.
With stories like this becoming the new normal across America, it's becoming obvious something's got to be done to get bad actors out of our country. But what nobody's talking about is that progressive leaders and activists in sanctuary cities are once again trying to paint this as some sort of mean-spirited crackdown against every immigrant who lives here, when it's the gang members that shouldn't be here who are targeting and exploiting law-abiding immigrants and asylum seekers. And this exploitation starts south of the border when many enlist the help of guides to travel into America, only to discover they're now prisoners of gangs and cartels who they owe massive debts to for their help getting into the country. And what most people don't know is that...
And see, that's the thing right there too. Nobody actually is doing the research to understand the monopoly on this situation. The cartels are actually monopolizing this situation to get these people over here, using these men, women, and these young children as pawns and stuff like that for people to get over here and things like that. But at the same time, though, too, I'm also holding the newly elected president of Mexico accountable for such things like that. She should cut the spigot off on her end, but obviously, it is what it is here.
Is that these gangs, they photograph and mark people before they bring them here, creating a permanent record some asylum seekers can never escape from, leading to that vulnerable person being exploited not only on their way to America, but even after that, because when they arrive in a sanctuary city like New York, gang members are here waiting for them in many of our asylum shelters. And when people who've fled poverty and traveled thousands of miles enter these places, dangerous criminals waste no time sizing up each and every one of them, regardless of who they are, for their value as human capital that can be put to work in service of their gang. Which brings us to the real reason why many people voted for a president who would carry out these deportations. This looks like the only way to remove dangerous criminals and gang members from cities across the country, especially the sanctuary cities. Yet even after winning a landslide presidential election, the Trump administration will have its work cut out for it, because sanctuary cities like New York have rules in place to stop them at every turn, like laws that make it illegal for local police who've arrested these gang members before and know who they are and where they live to help ICE get them off the streets. But as you're about to see, Trump's new border czar is kind of the opposite of our current border czar, and he says he's going to deport people from sanctuary cities, whether they help him or not.
Right. What Cash Jordan say? He's the total opposite of our current border czar, and we all know who she is. It is what it is. And at this point, that low key, that it's tragedy out here. They're still trying to get her in there. Biden needs to step down to let Kamala be the president for these last few months, and also they're coming up with excuses about they need to Justice Sotomayor. She needs to step aside so Biden can place Kamala in the justice seat of Sotomayor. Man, this is crazy out here. They're wild, but it is what it is.
So this massive building here, this is the Stewart Hotel. It's a former hotel. It's now being used as a shelter for asylum seeker families. It's right here in Midtown by Penn Station and Madison Square Garden. And although there could be deportation agents here after Trump's second term starts, the people they'll be looking for aren't who most New Yorkers think they are.
What do mass deportations look like, Chad? You target individuals, you remove dangerous criminals, you have to prioritize. The department actually deports individuals every single day. Now, under this administration, they have been at historic lows. And as you mentioned,
So it looks like these deportation efforts, they're going to focus on dangerous criminals and gang members. And it also looks like people currently get deported every single day in America. And although there have been fewer deportations than normal and way more border crossings than normal over the last few years, which has led to more of the wrong people making their way into the country, it sounds like the Trump administration is not going to be looking to round up millions of people and send them somewhere. No. In fact, they've only got about 6,000 deportation agents right now. Yes, they could hire more, but it would take time to go through that process. And the resources really aren't there for what many activists in New York claim everybody should be afraid of.
And my thing of this is too, you know what I'm saying? To gather on that situation about the only 6,000 agents, allegedly there are going to be agents that are going to want to come out of retirement to actually get back on the force. So that could be a possibility as well, things like that. So we're going to have, of course, we're going to keep diving deep off into that situation to where the retired agents are wanting to come back, but let's keep going.
Some of the activists at these protests, they're U.S. citizens. They don't have anything to worry about, or they're green card holders with permanent residency. On top of that, asylum seekers have a legal right to remain in America while their court case plays out, which means most of the folks who live here, they don't have anything to worry about either, unless they're already wanted by federal immigration authorities for something.
You concentrate on the public safety threats and the national security threats first, because they're the worst of the worst. So it's going to be the worst first. That's how it has to be done. And we know a record number of people on the terrorist watch list have crossed this border. We know a record number of terrorists have been released in this country.
Who could possibly be against that? If somebody's on a terror watch list, their presence in America puts all Americans and any law-abiding resident in danger. And it even...
Right. Let's not forget about the situation that just popped off where they, I think it was Iran had put the hit out on Trump recently here. They, they caught they got two of them, but the ringleader was, he's still over in Iran loose and things like that. This is wild right here. But how you think they got over here? Because we had our borders loose and open, like a prostitute's legs. I'm just being honest, sorry, man.
puts people in danger who might be here in an undocumented way, but aren't criminals either. It's hard to believe that it's possible to find people who are against such a plan, yet they're here and they're ready to dig in their heels and fight against it every step of the way. And the damage these bad actors are causing inside shelters that are supposed to help those who New York activists say they truly care about is astonishing. And it's the asylum seekers themselves who are complaining about gangs and want them gone. They're the ones with young kids living in these shelters who don't want to see criminals exploit them. And when the
so even the asylum seekers are screaming for help. And see, this is the twist in the situation that we don't understand. This is the twist in the situation that the information is not getting out there. Even the asylum seekers are not wanting these gangs from their own country to follow them here and things like that. And this is the process of the situation. But the thing of this is yes, those individuals from their country is going to follow them here. They're going to do so. And this is where the conundrum is coming in at. Well, Trump is going to he's just going to deport people, period. But I'm sorry to say, but there are going to be some innocent people that get caught up in the rapture. It just is what it is of the situation.
Asylum seekers who are immigrants and live in city-run shelters next to gang members tell us that these gangs are a real problem and that they're dangerous. We should probably open our ears and start listening. But the activists aren't, because it's Trump who wants to get rid of these people. Here's a parent who lives at the Roosevelt Hotel, which is another shelter near here, and it's got verified gang members living inside of it because they've been arrested and listed this place as their address. And these are parents who came here fleeing these gangs, and now the gangs are here waiting for them in the shelters that are supposed to help them. Literally, this is total lawlessness, and it's not empowering people. It's not protecting our immigrant communities. Instead, it's putting them in danger and ruining their lives. And that's just the gang members from Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang that started in a prison. We've literally had known members of dangerous organizations enter the country and disappear. Who knows what they could possibly be up to? Those people need to be found. But instead, the local resistance efforts here are trying to make this some anti-immigrant agenda when really it's immigrants who suffer first at the hands of many of these criminals. But the activists do bring up a good point. This is going to be a very expensive operation. It's going to cost billions of dollars, and nobody's quite sure where that money's going to come from.
First of all, cost of deportation. This President Trump's plan is going to be a cost savings for the American people because this administration is paying for free airline tickets all over the country, free hotel rooms at $500 a night, free education, free medical care, and that's
Right. You know what I'm saying? The Biden administration has been paying for all that medical care. You know what I'm saying? Before they were crossing the border, but then they tried to cut that off. You know what I'm saying? Right at the precipice, you know what I'm saying, almost the end of the election when they knew that they was about to lose and shit, they tried to cut that off and say, well, no, the immigrants are not coming across the border anymore. We've cut the border out. That's when Kamala went down to the border for the first damn time. You know what I'm saying? If y'all remember that. Now, at this point right here, they came up with the CVP program and things like that, which they were flying these immigrants in. So it's like, yeah. You cut one head off in order to create another. And yeah, you're flying them in. It still doesn't make a difference. Either way it goes, they're still illegal.
So according to the new border czar, this could cost a lot of money at first, but in the long run, it's going to save the country a lot of money, and you can't really put a price on national security and people's lives. That's tough. And as New York City is learning, even the most progressive immigration plans in the entire country will eventually run out of money and run out of ways to help people, which is what's happening here. We've got over 200 asylum shelters here, but they're all at capacity, and people get evicted after 30 and 60-day time periods and have to go live somewhere else, even though they don't have a job, even though they don't have any way to necessarily provide for themselves. These rolling evictions are how city officials have kept the whole thing affordable, even though it really isn't. And sadly, now you've got people living in tents outside some of the very places that were supposed to not help them end up homeless. And not only is this whole asylum industrial complex incredibly expensive to maintain, the idea that criminals are benefiting from it is just sickening. At the same time, nobody from the federal government is telling New York that it can't have its right to shelter rules. And nobody's telling New York that it can't house 60,000 asylum seekers who are law-abiding in hotels like this one. They're just asking for a little help removing gang members and criminals from these places who are doing so much damage. The people inside of them aren't getting anything out of it. But since it's President Trump who wants to locate and deport these bad actors, local activists say this must be an evil plan. It must be wrong because of who's behind it. And just as President Trump may have a mandate from voters to carry out the promises he campaigned upon, our leaders here have a mandate from their voters, who still overwhelmingly do not support Donald Trump, to get in the way of whatever plan comes our way. And they don't seem to care about the collateral damage and continued suffering that's still going to take place here if the status quo is maintained. So one of the big controversies here is how helpful local police, who are now banned from assisting federal agents, could potentially be when they go out looking for gang members and other criminals who might be living here in New York. But this is something activists really do not want at all, because immediately in their minds, they assume that this is going to have the NYPD separating families and deporting the law-abiding, which isn't the message here at all.
No, it's not the message. But the thing of this is, and what a lot of people don't understand, and it's sad that us as American citizens can't wrap our heads around this, and they can't understand. If you are traveling with your child and you may be intoxicated or anything like that, or you break the law in any type of way, shape, or form or fashion, and you're traveling with your family, period, be it your wife or your husband or children, anything like that, and you get caught, you will be separated from your family. You will be separated. Your child is not going to be locked up with you. That's not how it works, period. It's never worked that way. Even for natural born American citizens. If I get intoxicated and I drive down the street and I have my child in the car with me and I'm intoxicated and I may slip or something like that and get pulled over, and I'm deemed to be too intoxicated to actually operate a motor vehicle, they're going to arrest me. They're going to take me to jail. At that point, I will be separated from my child, which is in the car with me. It's nowhere around that. My child is not going to go to jail with me. And this is not nothing new in the American society, but because we got these demobats or these bats out here that think that just this utopia is supposed to exist, and the laws that are in place are just these overbearing and ruthless laws and things like that. No, my child is not going to be locked up in a cell with me if I choose as an adult grown-ass man to drink and go out and operate a motor vehicle and I have my child with me. I'll be lucky if I don't get placed with child endangerment as well. And this is just the facts. No, yeah, separating the children from families, that's kind of how that goes. When the adult is getting locked up.
But that doesn't matter. They've vowed to stand against it, and they want to keep things exactly how they are right now in this town.
Thousands of people, backed by more than 30 groups, took to the streets Saturday, marching from Columbus Circle to Bryant Park.
We're here to send a message loud and clear after the election that even though this administration is going to target immigrant communities, low-income people of color, that we're here to stay. We're actually going to be more visible and powerful.
So this interview is fascinating, and this is the first individual we've heard say that this deportation agenda is not going to be about protecting immigrant communities. No, instead, they're telling us that this is actually about destroying immigrant communities and getting rid of people who have legal right to be here. And these protesters really believe this is about rounding up low-income people. Who said that? Only them. But the reality of this is that they didn't vote for Trump. They don't like Trump. And if he wants to do something, there's no way it's a good thing. No way. And even though these protesters are trying to resist something that's not going to actually happen, there are quite a few people in New York who agree with them. And no matter what happens over the next few months, it may very well be framed as some sort of wicked operation that everyone should be morally opposed to. Even though the entire point of this operation is to put gang members and terror threats, people who are of low moral character, in the back of police cars and take them away to a place where they can't do anyone any harm. But our new border czar says that even if New York isn't going to give him any assistance, he's still going to come here and get the job of removing dangerous criminals accomplished.
Right. I mean, as ICE, they can do that, regardless of whether in these sanctuary cities, regardless of whether the officers or the law enforcement in said sanctuary city is willing to work with ICE and things like that. By federal law, they still can come there and round those people up. So, it just is what it is. Either they get on board or they don't. I mean, that's what. Hey, just like what Tom said, it is what it is.
Look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City because we want to do the job.
So if New York City decides to stand against this in some capacity, apparently more ICE agents, double the number, will just be deployed here to accomplish this task. An accomplishment that will definitely be appreciated by the many asylum seekers living in shelters where they are surrounded by dangerous gang members right now. And this is also going to come as a relief to many of the immigrant communities in New York that are under attack by these gangs, who are setting up criminal operations all over town. In many cases, selling things that are stolen from local businesses right on the side of the road out of suitcases. And you've got to ask yourself, if you see a young woman pulling tools out of a suitcase that were stolen from Home Depot, you've got to ask yourself, is she really selling them on a Saturday morning in the freezing cold because that's what she wants to do with her time? Or did someone tell her that that's what she better do with her time? Either way, many immigrant communities across New York voted red for the very first time. And it seems like the asylum seekers living in our shelters and many immigrants who live here have more in common with our border czar than some of these activists do, which is surprising. And there's incredible pressure on Mayor Eric Adams right now to pick a side in this immigration-related debate. Will he help Trump? Will he not help Trump? And which New Yorkers should he support?
Do you think every New Yorker believes there should not or should be mass deportation? Do you believe every New Yorker believes that?
No, but you have said you don't think there should be.
But you said, how can I advocate for New Yorkers? So I should only advocate for one type of New Yorker or all New Yorkers?
Well, that's tough. I don't think you can advocate for all New Yorkers.
Oh, really? Okay, so which New Yorker I shouldn't advocate for? The ones that agree with you or disagree with you?
Well, if you believe there should be no mass deportation.
Before he goes on, I did my due diligence on what Mayor Eric Adams had to say about that situation. Yeah, if you go on my channel, I already posted my broadcast on that situation and things like that. And yes, you know what I'm saying? I was shocked at what the fucking reporter had to say too. Like, how that's his job to advocate for all New Yorkers, in the situation and things like that. But I get it at the same time too. Mayor Adams is in a conundrum right now. The Democratic Party that he's been representing has lost, but still though too, he's trying to figure out a way to kind of maybe save what he can of New York due to the fact that that the overwhelming amount of migrants that came in there that they're putting up in the Roosevelt Hotel and all these other places, things like that, that he's been taking care of and spending all this money on, stuff like that. Like I said, also in my other broadcast, when I did the broadcast on Mayor Adams about this situation, I really don't think that he was actually maybe fully on board, really wholeheartedly with the Democratic Party, allowing this sanctuary situation to pop off and things like that. But of course, he had to go with what party he was representing and things like that. So I don't think that, he was fully on board, but that's neither here nor there. Let's keep going.
So I know that Mayor Adams isn't perfect, but that response was brilliant. He's got to look out for all New Yorkers who are Republicans, New Yorkers who are Democrats. He can't pick a side because he's mayor of everybody, and he's got to create the best city that he possibly can for everybody. And the premise of what many activists are asking of the mayor is flawed. He doesn't have to advocate for who the reporter calls are migrant New Yorkers because they get their legal status by way of the federal government while they apply for asylum. But if their asylum application gets denied, then they could in fact be ordered out of the country. But isn't that how the asylum application works? Does everybody get accepted? Are there some people who the government decides not to grant asylum to? Like people that are potential?
Yes. That's how it works. Everybody's not going to get in. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg. But the good movie. I love it. But the thing of this is in the movie, it was a senator of Montana in that movie. And they was out there in the middle of God knows where. And they met out there after shit hit the fan, and Mark Wahlberg had painted them into a corner for all the debauchery and danger, crazy stuff they had going on. But anyway, though, the senator of Montana asked Mark Wahlberg in that movie, his character and stuff like that, about joining their team. And he told him it's only so many places at the table, Gunny. And Mark Wahlberg played a sniper shooter in that movie and things like that. He had went to war and stuff like that, and he had found out that all this shit was corrupt. So he ducked himself off and things like that. But yeah, the senator said it's only so many places at the table, Gunny. And that goes into the migrant acceptance situation. It's only so many places at the table. It's only so many migrants we can let in. It's only so many. We cannot just let all these quote unquote asylum seekers in. It's only so many places at the damn table. And this is just facts right here. In America, and I'm all about America first. I'm all about America being selfish. We need to worry about our natural born American citizens. We have our own issues who were born here for serious generations. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what the black, white, I don't give a damn about the race, none of that crap. If you was born here for serious amounts of generations, stuff like that, things, you know what I'm saying, you can trace your lineage back all the way. We need to worry about our own selves right now. We have no room to allow just a shit ton of billions upon millions of illegal people in. It's no way possible.
Potentially dangerous, or are members of some group that wants to hurt people? Either way, it sounds like Mayor Adams is committed to making sure that people are treated with dignity no matter the results of this process. And that also means making sure things are done in a fair way without anybody having to get hurt. But what do you think? Are the activists right? Is this deportation plan really a Trojan horse of anti-immigrantness? Or is it going to help keep people safe? Is it good that gang members are living in shelters next to little kids who are here with their families and need to go to elementary school tomorrow morning? Is that a safe situation? And do activists even realize that when they defend policies that have led to that, those things are just going to continue, and the very people who the asylum crisis is named after may continue to be in danger? Let me know. Thank you.
Yes. And this is the truth. This is where we at, people. This is where we at with this migrant situation and things like that. And I get it, you know, to a lot of people, it's fucking repulsive and things like that. It's crazy, but it's life at the same time, though, too. It's life at the same time, though, too. Let's see. Hold on here. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Okay, hold on here. So, Daryl Brown, shout out to you. Real talk. I wish I had my soundboard. I'll give you some, you know, some claps for commenting. Let's see this. Philadelphia is my passion. Support. Hey, listen, look, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, hey, listen, look, I've heard a few things from Pastor Gino. If you're still on, you know what I'm saying, for real though. Yeah, I've heard a few things from Pastor Gino, you know what I'm saying? Definitely he seems like he's one of the real pastors. I'm a preacher's son, so yeah. You know, I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, things like that, old school style, you know, a lot of fire and brimstone was taught, a lot of things in the Bible back when I was growing up, and you know, that, you know, were being preached and taught in church are not now. I know that for certain. And my father, you know, at one point, you know, I didn't understand that then because I was a child, but he was having his issues with the church, and they were, you know, trying to, I guess at that point back then, now I'm thinking about it as a grown man, now at that point back then, they were starting to kind of change things. And my father wasn't going for it, and they tried to make him give his his license back, and he wouldn't do it. And yeah, I still got his, you know, his license hanging up on my wall in my house to this day. Yeah, he wouldn't do it. They was trying to start changing stuff back then, and he wasn't going for it. All right, hold on. Got another one here from brother Daryl. Let's see. Said he was just green card. Rights administration. Yo, yeah. You know, dealing with that green card situation, you know what I'm saying? You know, that kind of threw me off. I'm like, how you here for 30 years like that? And you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Right. You know, and that was wild. You know, here for 30 years and you just not get your green card. And hold on, if I go back, I think I didn't, yeah, I think I'd have took that video down. Yeah, I didn't took that video down. But if I go back, I think that video, of course, that video was like maybe 2-3 days ago, maybe a week at the max. You know, brother Daryl, like seriously, that's wild. Like how you hear 20-30 years and you haven't gotten your legal status together. You've had children, like things like that, which of course, you know, those children are American citizens. And this is the thing that we need to understand too, and we need to keep in our heads that if you know these illegals come over here, especially of course for the women, if they come over here and they have their child on American soil, their child is automatically an American citizen. That's just life. It is what it is. Even though that at some point, if their parent does not get their legal status together, their parent can be deported. But 30 years, and what I'm not understanding about, you know, in that video that I showed you guys about, they were saying that those gentlemen was here for 20 and 30 years. You know, we've had other deportation situations. We have deportations under every administration, basically. Even the Bush administration, even of course the Biden administration, things like that. We've had deportations of illegals. So how did they miss that deportation? You talking about 30 years, that reaches all the way back to the fucking 90s, you know, almost like, you know, 20 years that reaches back to the early 2000s. Like, you know, like how are you here this long? You hadn't been deported yet. So what is making you so alarmed now about your deportation status? Even though, like you said, brother Daryl, he just got his green card. So yeah, I don't think he's just going to be, you know, just ripped out the mask. I'm really knowing that I really feel like at this situation, what the Trump administration is trying to do is trying to get these illegals up out of here. These people that have been taking over apartment complexes in Colorado, the Tren de Agra, things like that. And as you heard Cash Jordan also say, even the asylum seekers in those hotels in New York, they're even wanting the gangs that have followed them up here out of the American situation and things like that. I'm not saying that all the immigrants that come over here and things like that are just bad people. Of course not. That's impossible. Just like not all natural born Americans are bad people and things like that. But we do have our own, you know, ignorant people that we have our problems with and things like that as American citizens and stuff. And yes, we have proper due process in order to get these people in their proper spaces and, you know, lock them up if need be. But yeah, it is what it is on that fact, man. Shout out to you, brother Daryl, man. Like I said, I wish I had my soundboard, man. I give you a hell of 5 claps. Appreciate that. Appreciate you for commenting. All right, so we're gonna keep diving, and of course, we got a lot to go into. We still got the Laken rally trial to get off into and things like that. But I'm finna keep going right here. I got one more segment. We're gonna talk about what California's doing. They're trying to ship people back to Texas, and this is 3 days ago that this was posted and things like that, people. So yeah, man, it's wild out here. We're going to dive off into this just a little bit. This is 27 minutes, so we're not going to do the whole thing because we got to also get off into the Laken Riley trial. So we're going to go here now. Let's see what's going on.
Move them to
quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Locations that self-identified as sanctuary cities that have the capability and the desire.
It's all happening right there in the dying coal towns of.
I knew commercials were going to come up. All right, we're going to keep going.
Own internal crisis, with Trump's victory bringing a renewed push for tighter.
Hold on, my bad.
California's leaders are in a tough spot as they wrestle with overcrowding, scarce resources, and political pressure. As tensions increase and the nation watches closely, everyone's asking, what will happen next in this dramatic new phase of the migrant crisis? Let's find out in this video. California's reversal. The ongoing battle over immigration and migrant movement in the United States took an unexpected twist when California, along with other sanctuary states, started sending migrants back to Texas, many to the very place they had once left, in search of better opportunities and safety. With New York City joining in, cities across the country are exploring a new response to the migrant crisis by providing transportation back to places like Texas, sparking a heated debate. What's driving this unexpected reversal, and why are sanctuary cities now funding one-way tickets back back to Texas. This move has left many questioning the motives behind it, especially with the political winds shifting as Trump prepares to return to the White House. California, long known as a sanctuary state, has faced massive challenges with incoming migrants who have put a significant strain on housing, public resources, and social services. With no clear solution in sight, the state government
It can't be no solution at the end of the day, though. These places are choosing to be sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and things like that. So what are they talking about now? Now you want to ship these people back to Texas, but Governor Wheelchair out there, shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? He of course, he sent them to y'all because y'all are sanctuary places. Texas is not a sanctuary place. So why are you trying to reverse the situation now? And see, this is the disrespect. Listen, look, y'all wanted to be a sanctuary place. Y'all wanted to keep that title as sanctuary places, you know, out there in California, out there in Illinois, New York. Y'all wanted to be these places. So now when, you know what I'm saying, the people on the border, especially in Texas, the government of Texas is shipping these people to you guys, then y'all deal with it.
Government began exploring options to help manage the rising number of migrants. While California has historically welcomed migrants with open arms, the sheer volume has made it impossible to provide adequate support for everyone.
Right. Oh, don't cry now. Don't cry now that, you know what I'm saying, the amount of, you know what I'm saying, illegals or asylum seekers or however you want to put it, you know, are coming in en masse like that. And the border states, or at least Texas, is shipping these people to you guys because that's what y'all want. Y'all wanted these people, right?
It wasn't only California that felt this pressure. Across the country, other sanctuary cities and states like New York were also feeling overwhelmed. After welcoming thousands of new arrivals in recent years, they now faced overcrowded shelters, drained resources, and significant social challenges. So, these cities started exploring options to relieve some of the burden, and one surprising strategy emerged: busing migrants back to Texas, where many of them had first entered the country. The plan is simple. Migrants who wish to leave are provided with bus or plane tickets, often funded by local governments. While New York City has taken a leading role in this strategy, California is not far behind. The numbers reveal a stark shift. In just 1 year, New York has already sent about 4,500 migrants back to Texas, while California is taking similar measures. Many of the migrants now being bused back to Texas initially entered the United States through Texas border towns, often journeying from their home countries through treacherous conditions and dangerous border crossings. Texas was just the first stop in their journey, and from there, they made their way to sanctuary cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, where they hope to start a new life. But with strained resources and local governments stretched thin, sanctuary cities began to reevaluate their options. Texas.
Right. That's the whole point. And that's the problem that we're having now. That's the reason why at the end of the day, Mayor Eric, you know, well, allegedly, of course, he cut off the funding for those programs and stuff like that. And then also on top of that too, what's happening is the funding has also stopped because, you know what I'm saying, this is the Biden administration, stuff like that. They're on their way out the door. So they've cut off the funding preamble of the situation up there in New York. And then also Mayor Adams is singing a different tune, low key. That's the reason why they indicted him. Trump said it. You know, now that you're switching your mindset, they're going to indict you. You know what I'm saying? Just like they did with Trump, trying to get this election interference, stuff like that, which they did, and things like that to a small degree, you know, but they just can't let it go. But either way, and that's what's going on here. So yeah, they're shipping these people back downstairs. But the problem is Governor Wheelchair, I guarantee he's not going to go for it. Let's keep going.
Governor Greg Abbott first initiated the practice of busing migrants to sanctuary cities in 2022, a move he described as necessary to alleviate the pressure on Texas's overwhelmed border communities. Abbott believed sanctuary cities, by design, should be prepared to offer support and resources to these migrants. Now, these same cities are sending migrants back to Texas, prompting outrage from Texas.
But I thought that these sanctuary cities, like Governor Wheelchair, aka Governor Abbott, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Anton Daniels. He calls him Governor Wheelchair. But, you know what I'm saying? I thought that these sanctuary cities would be prepared. They would have the financial stability in order to maintain and house and clothe and feed these people and educate these folks as well. So this is the point right here. Now we're seeing that it's so many of these illegals coming into our country at the end of the damn day that even the sanctuary cities can support them, and they cannot be sustained in any places that are not sanctuary. those places that are not sanctuary across our United States, they're not going to deal with them at all. They're not going to feed them, clothe them, educate them, none of that shit. That's not going to go on at all in those places that are not sanctuaries. So what are we supposed to do with these people? These people still have to go. It's time for them to go. Go back to Mexico. Let Mexico deal with them. Hopefully the new president of Mexico could come up with some sort of plan to deal with these individuals.
Officials who argue that states like California and New York are simply shifting responsibility rather than offering genuine solutions. This migrant ping pong has drawn criticism from both sides. California officials argue that the reversal is a response to resource limitations, while Texas officials accuse sanctuary cities of hypocrisy. Texas has already spent billions on Operation Lone Star, a state-funded border security mission launched by Abbott. For Texas, the return of migrants is a painful reminder.
And we got to keep in mind, too, when the Biden administration sued Governor Abbott down there for, providing the utmost protection that he could for our borders. We have to keep this in mind, too. The Biden administration sued them to allow illegal people in and not protect our borders.
Of the limits of local and state capacity to handle the broader immigration challenges facing the country. With Trump's victory in the 2024 election, the nation's immigration policy landscape is on the edge of significant change. Trump has made it clear that he intends to impose strict immigration policies, reviving many of the measures from his first administration and introducing even more drastic changes. In many ways, this new stance on immigration has forced sanctuary states and cities to reconsider their positions. Sanctuary cities like New York and California had previously embraced migrant-friendly policies, vowing to support incoming asylum seekers. However, as political pressure mounts and resources dwindle, many cities are finding it difficult to live up to those commitments. With Trump's new administration expected to clamp down hard on immigration, local governments are bracing for what could be a major wave of deportations, strict immigration enforcement, and fewer resources for those in need. The shift in political tides has also influenced the narrative around immigration and sanctuary cities. Abbott and other state leaders in Texas argue that sanctuary cities' policies were part of the reason for the border crisis. They claim that these welcoming policies essentially acted as a magnet for migrants, encouraging them to enter the country without proper documentation.
Right. And that's the case. That's the case right there. To enter the country without proper documentation. And this is why we're at this point right now.
Sanctuary city leaders, however, argue that they are simply trying to offer humane solutions to people in desperate situations. As President-elect Trump prepares to take office, his proposed policies include ending birthright citizenship, revoking protections for immigrants from certain countries, and accelerating deportations. His plan would undoubtedly increase pressure on states like Texas, where the largest number of undocumented residents currently reside. Trump has already signaled his desire to partner with Texas to strengthen immigration enforcement, potentially setting the stage for massive deportations. But with these deportations comes the need for significant local and federal coordination, and sanctuary cities like those in California may feel the greatest impact. Cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and even New York are now grappling with the uncertainty of what a Trump-led immigration crackdown will mean for their communities. Will they continue to send migrants back to Texas, or will they stand against federal pressure, maintaining their sanctuary status despite the potential legal and political consequences? California's reversal is not solely a political statement, it's also a financial one. The state has been spending millions on migrant housing, healthcare, and social services, costs that have been climbing steadily with each new arrival. By offering bus and plane tickets back to Texas, California hopes to cut down on the expenses associated with accommodating large numbers of new arrivals. The policy isn't without its controversies, however. Some advocates argue that simply sending migrants back to Texas doesn't solve the underlying issues. Others believe that it's a necessary, if uncomfortable, step given the state's financial reality. For now, the strategy seems to be working, at least in terms of reducing California's expenses. But it raises a bigger question: what happens next? Amid the political strategies and financial considerations, the real impact of California's reversal is felt most deeply by the migrants themselves. Many of these individuals left everything behind, fleeing dangerous conditions in their home countries in search of a better life. Their journeys to the United States were often filled with hardship and risk, only to find themselves caught in the middle of an an escalating political battle once they arrived. Take the story of Maria and her young daughter, who fled gang violence in Guatemala, enduring a perilous journey to the United States. After making it to California, they spent weeks in a crowded shelter, only to be offered a bus ticket back to Texas. For them, it's another chapter in an already difficult journey, filled with uncertainty and constant struggle. Similar stories can be heard across migrant shelters in California and New York, where individuals and families wonder what their futures hold in a country where the political landscape is shifting beneath their feet. As Trump takes office, the question of immigration reform will be front and center. The nation is deeply divided on the issue, with each side holding strong views on how best to address the challenges at the border. Sanctuary cities like California and New York may continue to wrestle with their roles in the immigration debate, especially as federal policies become more restrictive. For now, California's reversal is a sign of the times. The state's decision to bus migrants back to Texas may be rooted in financial realities and political pressures, but it also symbolizes the shifting attitudes toward immigration in the United States. As Trump's new policies begin to take shape, states across the country will face tough decisions, weighing their commitment to sanctuary policies against the reality of limited resources and increasing federal pressure. In the end, the migrant crisis is a complex issue with no easy answers. As California and other sanctuary states re-evaluate their strategies, the rest of the nation watches closely, waiting to see what the future holds for the millions of migrants who have come to America in search of a better life. The reversal may just be the beginning, a prelude to an even bigger shift in the nation's approach to immigration. As Trump's presidency looms, one thing is clear. The debate over immigration is far from over, and California's actions are only the latest chapter in a long and contentious story. In the middle of all this back and forth, Texas has also been spending millions of dollars to move migrants out of its state. How Texas spent millions moving migrants. For years, Texas has spent millions of taxpayer dollars to move migrants to cities far from the southern border. The reason? Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, says he wants to relieve Texas communities from what he calls the burdens of immigration, putting the issue squarely in the laps of Democratic leaders in other states. But as surprising as it may sound, some of these migrants are now being sent back to Texas. And with the results of the 2024 election, it's not just a logistical issue, it's become a full-blown political storm. But how did this all start? And why are states like California, particularly since Donald Trump's unexpected election win, suddenly taking drastic steps to bus migrants back to Texas? In April 2022, Governor Abbott kicked off an unprecedented plan. His strategy? Load up buses with migrants who'd recently crossed the border and send them to other states, especially to Democratic-led cities with sanctuary status, which have policies in place to protect immigrants. New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, and Washington, D.C. all became destinations as part of Abbott's initiative. This move was hailed by his supporters as bold and necessary, while his critics called it cruel and purely political. As of January this year, Texas has spent over $148 million.
I'm not understanding. How is that cruel if Governor Albert sent these people to actual sanctuary cities and things like that, where the sanctuary cities are technically supposed to be designed to house, you know, people that are seeking asylum and things like that from other countries and stuff, like, and supposed to have the resources to house and clothe and educate these people. How is that? I mean, it's always a deflection. Now that this shit is crashing, now that this shit's hit the fan, now that more illegals are coming than these sanctuary cities could actually maintain, now it's an issue. Now it's, you know, the border state's problem, and they're discriminating and they're doing this and that, move the woo, because, you know, y'all sending these people here, stuff like that. But I thought that's what sanctuary cities were for.
$1 million to bus migrants to these far-off destinations. That's a staggering amount of money for a state to spend just on transportation. It certainly is a great deal of money to be spent. Ray Perryman, the president of the Waco-based economic research company, the Perryman Group, said concerning the cost. But Abbott argues that this cost is just a fraction of Texas's overall state budget of $321 billion, insisting it's worth every penny to relieve Texas communities at the border. Just like Abbott, Perryman also wonders if Texas should continue using taxpayer dollars to foot the bill. These dollars are not a huge percentage of the overall budget, so it's certainly something that could be done, Perryman said. I think the question is, should it be done? Perryman asked, emphasizing the complex ethical and economic implications of Abbott's policy. Abbott added that the transportation was necessary to prevent the state from shouldering the burdens imposed by open border advocates in other parts of the country. In essence, he's saying that other states who are willing to take the financial burdens can have the immigrants. And that's exactly what's happened. Over 102,000 migrants have been transported out of Texas since the program's launch. Some arrived in Los Angeles, others in New York City, Philadelphia, and beyond. The result has been not only a hefty price tag for Texas, but also growing tension with Democratic leaders in those cities. While Abbott's plan initially seemed straightforward, it quickly evolved into a logistical and political maze. At first, the program seemed like a blessing for migrants in Texas. They received free transport to larger cities where they might find better opportunities and more resources. Non-profit organizations, including the Val Verde Border Humanitarian Coalition, even stepped in to help, providing food, clothing, and support to the migrants at their destinations. Tiffany Burrow, who managed the coalition organization in Del Rio, Texas, saw it as a practical solution. We strictly saw this as an option that benefited the migrants that were coming through, she said. But as the months passed, the cooperation between Texas and some humanitarian groups began to unravel. Suddenly, buses started arriving at unpredictable hours, often before dawn or late at night, without warning. For Burrow and her team, the lack of coordination made it dangerous for the migrants, prompting her organization to end their partnership with the state. According to Burrow, the changes made it unsafe for migrants. But I think it's entirely possible that
the lies, man, the lies. Listen, look, this is crazy out here, man, but it's just the truth about this situation. These are the lies. Listen, look, if you want to check this out a little bit further, you know what I'm saying, go to the club channel on YouTube here, you know what I'm saying. Let's see, California-based migrants back to Texas because Trump won. Okay. So yeah, it is what it is on that aspect. And you know, man, wow. Yeah, definitely great points in that particular segment right there. You know what I'm saying? With that, like I said, go to the club channel on YouTube here, and they're going to be able to, you know what I'm saying, and finish off that video. Real talk, we got a lot more to get into. We're going to start diving off into the Laken Riley situation. But before we do that, I'm going to take me a high break out here. Y'all, you know, get down in the comments. Definitely hit that like button out there for me. You know what I'm saying? Show me some love for real, though.
Tell me, JR, which slut are you going to stay with tonight?
What difference does it make? Whoever it is, it's got to be more interesting than the slut I'm looking at right now.
Had no sex!
I'm with the SHRC. That's Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. You know what I'm saying?
So what do you want?
We're going to get your name and your Instagram. We're going to get you on the Cowboy as soon as possible, you know?
You gonna get us on a cowboy?
Yeah.
This a date? Is it?
Yeah. And I'm the Cowboy.
Are you a cowboy?
Of course. Howdy.
Okay, you are handsome.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Are very pretty yourselves, too. You know what I'm saying? All the people that do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. What name would it be?
Sleep season.
Sleep season?
Sleep season, yeah, that's sleep season.
So y'all trying to put us, so y'all
Put you
trying
down
to
real
rope us,
nice.
rope us like them cows, some baby cows and calves.
Oh, you into that bondage, huh?
Oh, you kind of strong.
Yo, what's good? Yes, we are back in the broadcast room. Hold on. Yeah, we're back in and things like that. So yes, we're going to keep this thing going. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the situation about the migrant thing, man. I mean, it just is what it is, man. And it's nowhere around this factor that these people have to go, and we cannot support this, you know, super in super influction of these migrants coming in. It's just nowhere around this, and also maintain our substance as a country, because we got a lot of shit that needs to be fixed over here. We got roads that need to be paved, cities that need to be fixed, things like that. We still haven't dealt with the situation from these past hurricanes that just happened. Those people are still out there homeless and stuff like that. It's a lot of things that, you know, we need not to forget. And this is just facts. You know, these are just facts. All right. So we're about to start diving off into the Laken rally situation here. And yeah, hold on here. Hold on here. Let me clear my stuff out first, so we can hold on. Yeah, let me clear stuff out here so we can actually get into it. So okay, we're about to dive off into the Laken rally situation. Shout out to her family and things like that. And you know, here we go. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
The murder case that became a flashpoint in the debate over immigration and border security in this country. A migrant in this country illegally, now on trial in the death of 22-year-old Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, and what the prosecution revealed today. Steve Osunsami from Georgia.
One of the most difficult moments in this Georgia courtroom today was when the police officer who found Laken Riley's body took the stand.
To the university, I found it. Ma'am. Oh, I need EMS immediately. She's not breathing.
The court was silent as they watched the graphic police body camera video of him trying to save her life.
Starting CPR now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The killing of the 22-year-old nursing student became a key point in the debate over immigration.
He shouldn't have been in our country, and he never would have been under the Trump policy.
26-year-old Jose Ibarra, who's charged with murder, is pleading not guilty. He's an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela who illegally entered the country in 2022.
For females on the University of Georgia's campus.
Prosecutors say he was living with his brothers not far from the trails where Riley was jogging. Riley's mother was in the courtroom and broke down as she heard her daughter try to call 911 for help.
Clark County 911. Hello, this is Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me?
When Laken Riley refused to be his rape victim, he bashed her skull in with a rock repeatedly.
Prosecutors point to Ibarra's thumbprint on Riley's cell phone and video of him throwing away clothing with her DNA as proof of his guilt. Ibarra's lawyers are challenging the forensic evidence.
This is a case before a judge and not a jury. If the judge in this case convicts this accused murderer, could spend the rest of his life in prison. David?
Deeply troubling tonight, Steve.
Yes. And this is the case right here. So there's no jury that's going to be entertaining this situation. The thing of this is right now is this a strict judge, and he's going to be doing his thing. And you know, it is what it is, man. This is sad right here. This is part of the situation that we're talking about with these illegals being here. You know, that we have these types of individuals that are going around here doing certain egregious crimes and stuff like that. You know, I want to bring up also as well, let's not forget about the young child, a 14-year-old that was also, you know, stabbed in Indiana at a baseball game. You know, and this is the thing right here that's going on. And we also have a lot of these illegals, Trinidad Lagua, that's doing these crimes and stuff like that here in America. As we all know, up in New York, stuff like that, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. And we're as American citizens are just supposed to keep allowing this type of tragedy to happen to our American citizens. I'm not caring right now about race or color or any type of dumbass crap like that. I'm caring about natural born American citizens that are getting hurt, harmed, and endangered by these illegals right here. It's already bad enough that we have our own American citizens that do crime as well. So, and this is where we're at. And it's just too much. We already have enough of our American citizens that do crime. Then on top of that, these illegals are coming in undocumented. Who knows where they're going? Who knows where they're at? Who even knows who they are? Really, it's disrespectful that we're doing ourselves like this. It's highly disrespectful. So, all right, we're going to keep going. And yes, we have more in the situation here on the broadcast. Shout out to everyone, you know what I'm saying? In and out, hit that like, share, subscribe button, things like that. And yeah, we're going to go here now and we're going to check some more stuff out before, you know what I'm saying? Because we're diving deeper off into the situation. Here we go right now. Let's go here and see what's going on.
And accused of killing 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. Day 2 is currently underway in Athens. And just last week, we heard the emotional testimony from the roommates of Laken Riley and the heartbreaking details surrounding her death. She was found dead in February of this year after going out for a jog on the University of Georgia's Athens campus. Now, this week, we expect to hear testimony from the family members of Jose Ibarra coming to his defense. CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi is here to break down the case for us. Caroline, thank you so much for being with us. Day 2 of this trial happening now. What is standing out to you so far?
Yeah, Liz. Well, we know from UGA police that this is being described as what's known as a crime of opportunity, meaning there was no prior relationship between the victim and the defendant here. Quite frankly, it's the most terrifying crime for everyday citizens to hear about because, again, there was no relationship. This trial is proceeding as expected. It's going quite quickly. We're hearing the prosecution's case here. It's pretty airtight, I've got to say. We've heard them lay the foundation as to how, the really horrifying details about how they found her body. You noted we heard from her roommate when she didn't return back from her run. They actually used her phone to locate her. They found one AirPod and then they called the police. We're also hearing from a variety of detectives, different investigators on the scene, really talking about the physical evidence in this case, and there is a lot of it.
And Caroline, a reminder for our viewers that the trial is currently proceeding without a jury. The defendant waived his right to one, which means that the decision will ultimately come down to the judge. Why did the defense make this decision, and what impact do you think that's going to have on the trial?
Yeah, that's right. And the trial is proceeding without a jury now, meaning it will be a bench trial. The judge will decide. And, it is kind of something that has people scratching their heads why the defense would voluntarily waive his constitutional right to a jury trial. It could be, frankly, Liz, that some of the evidence.
Hold on here. Now, hold on. What did she just say? Hold on here.
Be frankly, Liz, that some of the evidence here is just so inflammatory. It's, almost hard to watch. And
hold on, my bad. Let's go back a little bit further here. Hold on.
As why the defense would voluntarily waive his constitutional right to a jury trial.
My question is, if he's here illegally, if he's not a United States citizen, if he's not a citizen under the Constitution of our government, under the Constitution of our land, how does he have the right to that process? I mean, get down in the comments. Let me know if you know what I'm saying, when you hear this fact. This is crazy to me. He's not a legal citizen. How does he have the right like that? Hold on. Yes, I'm going to play it again.
People scratching their heads why the defense would voluntarily waive his constitutional right to a jury trial. It could.
How does he have the constitutional right to a jury trial when he's here illegally? He's not a U.S. citizen. So what are we doing? Are we going off some humanitarian shit? I mean, what is it? How does he have the constitutional right under the Constitution of America that's built for legal citizens in America to have a right to choose jury or judge trial, or the jury or bench trial, basically? Okay. Listen, look. I don't know every damn thing, but I mean, Jesus Christ. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's not a citizen of this country. How does he have that right?
Could be, frankly, Liz, that some of the evidence here is just so inflammatory. It's, almost hard to watch and hear. We heard that 911 call, that it would be so inflammatory for jurors. There's also this really hot button issue, the immigration issue, frankly, would be difficult to actually seat a jury that could maybe be fair and impartial. But we're seeing what's, the result of that is a very quick trial here. I would not be surprised if we got through all of the evidence quite quickly and the judge decided, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any bombshell evidence from the defense. They have tried to exclude the DNA evidence here, which is quite strong. It didn't work. And they've described the evidence as circumstantial. But other than that, I don't see much of a defense in this case.
CBS News legal contributor.
Okay. All right. So we're going to keep this thing going. And of course, I have more with this particular type of situation here. This is wild right here that they are, moving this way and things like that. Yeah. So let's go to let's go here now. Let's go to the 911 call and let's hear that. All right.
This morning, chilling testimony from the officer who found the body of nursing student Laken Riley.
I found it. Ma'am. Oh, I need EMS immediately. She's not breathing.
In the first day of the trial against Jose Ibarra, the court also shown the final moments of Riley as she headed out for a morning run she never returned from. Ibarra, an undocumented migrant from Venezuela, charged in her brutal killing in February along the University of Georgia running trail.
When Laken Riley refused to be his rape victim, he bashed her skull in with a rock repeatedly.
A chilling 911 call seeming to capture the struggle played in court as Riley's grieving mother sobbed.
Hello, this is Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me?
Prosecutors said Ibarra's DNA found underneath Riley's fingernails also proves that there was a struggle. And then there's the surveillance video showing an individual who prosecutors say is Ibarra tossing a black jacket in a dumpster just 15 minutes after they say Laken's heart stopped.
Jose Ibarra and Laken Riley's blood are on the jacket that he dumped in the dumpster.
The defense questioning the evidence and its validity early on.
The evidence that Jose Ibarra killed Laken Riley is circumstantial.
Ibarra pleading not guilty to murder, kidnapping, and a slew of other charges. Watch break.
All right. So we heard that part. We're going to keep it moving. And yes, I also have the defense trying to come to this situation here. All right. So we're going to dive off into this a little bit right here.
Judge, the evidence in this case is graphic and it's disturbing. What happened to Laken Riley is graphic and disturbing, and it is a tragedy. The loss of any life that young and apparently full of promise is a tragedy. And I'm sorry that the family is having to go through this and be here for the presentation of this evidence. People have used this case for their own personal gain, financial gain, political gain. And while this process has its place for testing evidence, it's very poorly suited to healing hearts and minds. So it's the evidence that we have to talk about. And the evidence in this case is very good that Laken Riley was murdered. The evidence that Jose Ibarra killed Laken Riley is circumstantial. The evidence that anyone had any intent or certainly committed any sexual assault is speculation. Most importantly, in this case, you'll hear no evidence that a sexual assault was committed. You'll hear nothing from the GBI, the FBI, UGAPD, ACCPD, that after looking at all of the evidence in this case, scouring for anything that could help prove this allegation in the state's indictment, that they found any biological evidence that would suggest that, any physical evidence that would suggest that. There's no injuries that are consistent with the sexual assault. And in this case, it's an effort to explain a tragedy, but it's not based on evidence. The evidence that Jose Ibarra killed anyone is circumstantial. The state's presentation in their opening had a lot of detail about information, again, that showed that this event happened. But upon a closer look at the evidence that links Mr. Ibarra to that event, it is lacking. You'll hear that his phone was in the area, and you'll hear that the cast team that ran the locations of this phone. And there is good evidence that the phone itself was in the area. What you'll also hear, though, is that when they looked into this phone, when they did a close examination of who was using this phone, it wasn't just Jose Ibarra. It was other people in that apartment who were using this phone.
Okay. Obviously, he lived with more than just one person. And I get it. Of course, he's illegal here. It's no way possible that he could be here and not live with somebody else or somebody else engaging and was, the things like that. Listen, look, I want to bring this back up because we're going to go right here. And this is the thing. So the evidence of what he's saying is circumstantial, things like that. Okay, so hold on here. I want to check this out. Let's go back and see what it is here.
Late in court as Riley's grieving mother sobbed.
Hello, this is Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me?
Prosecutors said Ibarra's DNA found underneath Riley's fingernails.
So his DNA was found underneath this young lady's fingernails. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back. So they're saying that his DNA was found underneath this young lady's fingernails. Hold on. Let me see if I'm at the right point. Hold on.
The evidence that Jose Ibarra killed Laken Riley is circumstantial.
Okay, so it's circumstantial. It's circumstantial, and I'm not a lawyer, but listen, look, I'm not stupid either. Circumstantial. Listen, look. When you sit there and say that you found that young lady's DNA in his nails, and we know how this new age DNA situation works. If they find somebody else's DNA under your fingernails or upon you, saliva, anything like that, that means that you were actually close enough to that person to get their DNA upon you. Or I mean, where are we? Where are we here? Why are we defending this situation to where there clearly is DNA up under the fingernails of this suspect and things like that? This makes no sense. Now, like I told you, I'm not a lawyer. So, don't quote me. Don't try to, this and that. But, I'm just going by the evidence that's being presented, or the topic, the talking points or whatever that's being presented here, that they're saying that they found DNA up under his fingernails from this young lady. They saw him throwing away evidence with not only her blood upon it, but his as well. So, I mean, what more is there to actually, come to? All right, hold on here. Let's keep going.
Team that ran the locations of this phone. And there is good evidence that the phone itself was in the area. What you'll also hear, though, is that when they looked into this phone, when they did a close examination of who was using this phone, it wasn't just Jose Ibarra. It was other people in that apartment who were using this phone. And that comes through an investigation into the accounts that were used through this phone, and also from people who met other people associated with this phone who had used the phone to message people. And so while the phone was there, that's true. It doesn't show that Mr. Ibarra was there. And you'll hear that Mr. Ibarra's finger.
I mean, so why is Laken Riley's DNA in his fingernails? Why is the suspect's blood on her clothing and hers as well?
Fingerprint was on Laken Riley's phone. But you also hear that he was wearing gloves, supposedly.
Okay, supposedly, right. So why is his fingerprint on the phone? So, of course, when they lock people up, they take everybody's fingerprints and things like that. So, listen, look, let's not be stupid out here, people. Now, this lawyer could talk out the side of his neck all day. The thing of this is I guarantee you they took his fingerprints, and they have his fingerprints, and they matched it to any fingerprints that was found on either the clothing or the phone, things like that. And that was in, obviously his possession at some point because his fingerprint was on it. They still have the technology to match, even if people are not in the system. Excuse me. They have the technology to match your fingerprint to whatever you touch. So, yeah, they matched his fingerprint and they found his fingerprint on her phone.
And that this hole that was supposedly in the gloves that they found would not have left that mark.
But then why is it his fingerprint? Why did they match it back to his fingerprint that they took in booking? Because when they booked him, they took his fingerprints. So why did it match back?
You'll hear that someone in that video, in the so-called dumpster video, was wearing an Adidas hat. That's true. When they find that hat, and specifically the hat that was tested in this case, it was worn by Diego Ibarra, not Jose Ibarra, Diego Ibarra. And you'll also hear, and the state will ask you to consider different types of forensic evidence and to suspend your understanding of how that evidence is evaluated. Because while they will say that Mr. Ibarra's DNA was present at the scene, what they'll tell you is that without this software that we can't test, this proprietary software used by the GBI, without that, their expert wouldn't have been able to say whose DNA it was. She wouldn't have been qualified to testify about whose DNA that is. So they have to use a machine.
So they have to use a machine. Everybody's DNA that get processed, it's a machine that actually gets used to do it. Even for American citizens. Listen, look, see, here we go. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? As his lawyer, you know, he has to do his due diligence to try to defend his client. But, you know, wow, this is wild right here. We are actually seeing the fact right now that we have an illegal person in our country getting our due process defense, and that a citizen of our country is entitled to. Now, you know, as an illegal, he's not entitled to this due process. He's not entitled to this because he's not a citizen of the country. But, you know, this is where we're at, people. This is where we're at. They're giving this man, due process in the court system, and he's illegal. He's not even a documented citizen. He's not even a citizen of this country. This is where we're at here. Jesus Christ, this is crazy. All right, so we're going to dive off into some of the evidence here. And yeah, we're at the breaking point here. Real talk. Let's go there now.
So what happens next? Well, UGA PD leave, and they really got nothing other than a peeping Tom incident that had occurred on campus at 7:57 a.m. I'm going to talk to you about that one last. So what they do is, it is a combination of good police work and luck, pure luck. But they start dumpster diving. ACCPD is dumpster diving, UGA PD is dumpster diving, GBI is dumpster diving, FBI is dumpster diving. Everybody is just looking into every dumpster in the Athens area for anything because they had nothing. And at a dumpster, at an apartment complex where he lived, a police officer named Zach Davis of ACCPD finds this hoodie jacket. And when he looks in and sees it, it's in a recycling bin and it's standing out because it's right on top. And he noticed it had long, dark hair on it, wrapped around one of the buttons, and he could see blood. And he thought that was suspicious. So he calls UGA PD. They respond at 9 o'clock on the day of Laken's murder. They collect the jacket found in the dumpster, and they send it immediately to the GBI crime lab indicator for testing. But while they're there, they look around and see that one of the residents in this apartment and B32 had what's called a Eufy camera, which is like a Ring camera but works a little different, had a camera aimed at that dumpster. And so they asked the resident that night, hey, can we come in? Can we see your camera? He agreed to let them see it. And this is what they saw. At 9:44 in the morning, about 15 minutes after Laken Riley's heart stopped, this is what they see. So they saw an individual who they did not know who it was at the time, dump the jacket in the dumpster and go to those bushes there and dump something there. So they go to the bushes, and this video has been enhanced, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of testimony about this video, enhanced the best they could by GBI Cyber. And I know the court sat through some motions to suppress where this black Adidas hat, there was a lot of discussion about, and you're going to hear more about all of those things. But this is an image that they locked in on and began to circulate around the neighborhood, or as the cops call a bolo. Be on the lookout for this individual. They didn't know who he was, and they circulated that. But they did go also that night, still the night of February 22nd, to the bushes, and they found 3 black disposable kitchen gloves. And those gloves were also sent immediately to the crime lab. And one of the interesting things about the black disposable gloves when they got to the crime lab and they were analyzed, this is a picture taken at the crime lab, is that on the thumb of the gloves, there was a hole. There's also other holes in the gloves, and they found them. But on the thumb area of one of the gloves that the crime lab examined, they found a hole. And they also found blood, and that blood was later to be determined to be Laken Riley's blood on those gloves.
So they found blood of this young lady on the gloves, a hole in the gloves, which, you know what I'm saying, from the angle of it, looks like the thumbprint. Man, what more do you need? You know, it's making no sense to me that at the end of the day, we're talking about once they fingerprinted him, and also they did their of course their test, what they would do on anybody that's involved in such an egregious crime. They taking DNA tests from underneath your fingernails, swabbing, so it's a lot of things that they do. And you know, yeah. And they're checking things out, and this is wild right here that they actually have the evidence that she, you know, her DNA was underneath his fingernails, and his fingerprint is on the phone. But all of a sudden, his defense attorney talk about one of the roommates or whatever is, you know, they were all using set phone and stuff like that. Oh, I mean, Jesus, man, this is wild.
So I've already told you about the geographic locations. They're all clustered. You can see in this map, the crime scene is at the top in the middle, called body crime scene. The dumpster where the items were found is marked. Building S is right by the bus stop, and then Laken Riley lived further up, you know, Millage Avenue, towards the top of this photo. Okay,
so if we could properly see it, hold on, I gotta blow it up for you guys. If we could properly see it here. You know, yeah, as we see it, the dumpster is here. If y'all can see my mouse, things like that. The dumpster's here. The crime scene is up here. Yeah, that's a little walk. That's a nice little walk and things like that. This is wild right here. This is wild. Okay, so we're gonna keep going.
But the distance between the building S, which will become important, and Laken Riley's body is about 300 yards. The distance between the dumpster and Laken Riley's body is about 500 yards. And the distance between the dumpster and the bus stop and where the defendant lived, because he lived in that apartment complex, is about 150 yards. Everything is close together. So what happened next in the investigation is that the very next morning on Friday, February 23rd at 8:32 a.m. as ACCPD, again, is just looking out for anything. They had the bolo at that point. They encounter a person named Diego Ibarra. And Diego Ibarra is wearing a black Adidas hat that has some interest to them, which is they believe to be the identical hat that they had seen in the video the night before. And I will tell you this, on that hat that Diego Ibarra was wearing the next day is Laken Riley's blood. So their theory that that was in fact the same hat was actually.
So they also then took the DNA off the hat too? Man, this ain't, all right. Okay.
Absolutely correct. So they encounter Diego Ibarra. He gives them a fake green card. They know it's fake because it has 2 different dates of birth on it. And so they ask him to go back to his residence and they begin talking to him. UGAPD arrives and they begin to take over the scene. From the information that they had gotten from Diego Ibarra, they knew that hat was a hat seen in the video because of the proximity of the crime. And at some point, Diego began telling them he's got brothers in the house sleeping, and there were many communication difficulties at first because the first responding officers did not speak Spanish. No one in this apartment, D126, could speak English. So at some point, UGA brought 2 of their Spanish-speaking officers on scene, and the communication became a little easier. Officer Bridges, Officer Sand, both of whom are native speakers of Spanish, arrived and began taking over in the communications. When they get there, they are attempting to secure the residence for a warrant. And before they could do a security sweep to secure the residence for a warrant, Argenis Ibarra, who's in the middle in this slide, comes out with a garbage bag in his hand. He eventually gives officers consent to enter the residence. And when Sergeant Epps enters the residence, he sees Jose Ibarra asleep in the bed. And that is how he's been identified in this case. You will see there are 5 residents that lived in apartment D126. Jose Antonio Ibarra, this defendant, also goes by the name of Victor, which will be important because a lot of the communications within.
My question is, how the fuck are they renting out this place? And they're not legal. How are they renting out this apartment and they're not legal? And on top of that, it's 5 people in this apartment. I guarantee you it's not enough bedrooms in that apartment. What is going on here? This is wild and ridiculous. You mean to tell me it's 5 people in this apartment right here that and I guarantee you that are not documented or either they're illegal. How are they able to afford this apartment? Who is paying for this? How are they getting food? How are they getting money for food?
Within his phone, and some of the witnesses just call him Victor. So Jose Ibarra is Victor. It is in fact the same person. Diego Ibarra is Jose's older brother, goes by the name of El Gocho, is a nickname that many people, including this defendant, call him El Gocho. Argenis goes by Manny, and Rosbelli Flores Bello goes by La Gorda, and then Juan Carlos Diaz Hernandez, they call Carlito. And I suspect the state will tell you right now, we are definitely
not old Carlito's way out here. I don't know if y'all know that movie, man, that Al Pacino and stuff like that, you know, Carlito's Way. That's a good movie too.
You're going to hear from Rosbelli in that residence. You will also hear that all the residents, Diego, Argenis, and Rosbelli, at least those 3, are currently in federal custody on some immigration issues. But we are going to produce Rosbelli to testify to the court about the things that she saw and observed that day. And it is Rosbelli who identifies Jose Ibarra from the dumpster video. The officers, when they saw Jose Ibarra that day, saw that he had many injuries to him, scratches on his arm, scratches on his wrist, scratches on the back of his neck, scratches on his hand. And they photographed those injuries to him. And then they began to do an additional canvass of this entire apartment complex. There are multiple buildings in this apartment complex, A, B, C, D, and E. Multiple teams of agents began going around looking for cameras, talking to residents. What do they know? What do they not know? And one of the things that they found is that the Ibarras lived at D126. Right next to them is D125, and right next to D125 is D124. 124 had a ring camera. 125 had a still camera. And they went and collected videos from those two apartments. And importantly, on the day that Laken Riley was murdered, at 10:21 a.m., Jose Ibarra is captured on D124 coming out of his apartment with a bag, and now his clothes have changed. He's wearing different clothes than he was wearing about 40 minutes ago. And he has a bag in his hand, and he's walking towards a dumpster, another dumpster in their apartment complex. And that dumpster, by the way, had been emptied the day of the murder. So when the officers went to check that dumpster had nothing in it for them. But in the next door neighbors, still camera shot at 10:24 a.m., 3 minutes later, Jose Ibarra is walking back towards his apartment, empty-handed, nothing in his hand. So they searched the residence that day, and they found a few things of significance. Number one, they found 3 more black disposable kitchen gloves, which were sent to trace evidence for plastics and polymer examination, and they concluded that they had originated from the same source as the gloves that were recovered in the bushes. They recovered 2 of the defendant's Samsung cell phones, which you will hear some evidence out of, but they also found no bloody clothing, no bloody anything, and the shirt and the satchel that you see the defendant wearing in the video, the dumpster video, were never found. They're not in that residence. So what other forensic evidence? The parties will stipulate to the prior Daubert hearing that this court has heard, so we will not be recalling the fingerprint evidence, but we will have a stipulation with the transcript and all of the exhibits that thumbprint, the latent print that was on the phone was sent to ACCPD that night. And eventually, the digital image of that thumbprint on Laken Riley's phone was compared to Diego Ibarra, Argenis Ibarra, Rosvelli, and Juan Carlos, and they were all excluded. They didn't leave that thumbprint behind. And it was matched to this defendant, Jose Ibarra. It is Jose Ibarra's left thumb on Laken Riley's phone. And the analyst or the expert who did that analysis testified at the Daubert hearing. He showed the court 15 points of comparison that he found, and his results were peer-reviewed by another examiner. They were peer-reviewed blind, and she agreed with him. There's also DNA in this case, and you're going to hear about 3 different types of DNA: traditional, YSTR, and true allele. All true allele is probabilistic genotyping, but it is.
Okay, so here we at, you know what I'm saying? YSTR, let's see, fingernails, you know what I'm saying? That's of course the DNA, traditional jacket, you know what I'm saying, rocks, tree. True is jacket, gloves, fingernails, Sora hat. Okay. So yeah, these are the 3 different types of DNA capture, I guess, that they're able to get.
It is a computer software program that deconvolutes or separates complex mixtures of DNA. That's what True Allele does. But before you can go to True Allele, you have to start with traditional DNA. So all of the items of evidence that you're going to hear DNA results from started with the traditional DNA. They were swabbed, they were amplified, they were quantified, all the things that you do with regular DNA. But we do have some regular DNA results in this case. First and foremost, the jacket. The jacket found in the dumpster has blood on it. And in the blood for traditional DNA is Laken Riley's DNA and this defendant's DNA. And only the two of them. Jose Ibarra and Laken Riley's blood are on the jacket that he dumped in the dumpster. The rocks and the trees from the crime scene, they were also processed for DNA, for latent prints, and for everything we got. But on the rocks in the tree, just Laken's DNA, Laken's blood on the rocks in the tree. They attempted first, which is protocol, to do what's called YSTR DNA testing on Laken's fingernails. So both her left and her right hands were swabbed by the medical examiner in this case, and they were both sent to DNA for analysis. YSTR is a better fit for trying to separate male and females because only males have Y chromosomes. And so they attempted YSTR first, and they were successful. The problem with YSTR, and the officers did gather the DNA of Jose Ibarra, Diego Ibarra, and Argenis Ibarra. They are brothers, and blood brothers share the same paternal line, and they share the same YSTR profile, unless there's a genetic mutation. And what the lab found when they tested the fingernails of Laken Riley is that, first of all, the left hand, there's nothing. No DNA of any other person other than Laken. But on her right hand, there was male DNA. And for the YSTR testing that they tried first, Jose Ibarra could not be excluded as the donor of that YSTR profile, and neither could Argenis, because, again, they're blood brothers. They share the same YSTR profile. But Diego could be excluded, and that's because Diego carries a genetic mutation that the lab was able to see, and he was able to be excluded as the donor of YSTR profile underneath Laken's nails. But after the YSTR was done, it was then sent to True Allele, along with a lot of other items. And when True Allele tested, and the data was sent into the True Allele program. It didn't test it, but when the data was sent into the True Allele program, True Allele excluded Argenis as the donor. True Allele excluded Diego, who had already been excluded by STR anyway, but True Allele matched Jose Ibarra to the DNA underneath Laken's right fingernails. To this likelihood ratio, which I have before the court here, 10 billion times more probable than a coincidental match.
So at the end of the day, though, his DNA was matched way more significantly than his brother's DNA. That's basically what they're saying.
I'll tell you, the gloves that were tested, that's all just Laken's blood, the black gloves that were in the bushes. There's a straw that was tested. That is the defendant's blood. I want to talk to you about that a little later. And then the hat, the black Adidas hat, is also
How the fuck has he got this many people defending him as an illegal immigrant? He's not a U.S. citizen. He's not. Oh man, is this where we at here? Is this where we at?
Laken's blood, and then the jacket also did contact swabs. So in addition to the blood on the jacket, they did contact swabs that were sent to True Allele. And again, it's the defendant and Laken on the jacket. But importantly on this dark blue jacket, also Laken's hairs that were wrapped around the button were sent to trace evidence. They are consistent with Laken Riley's hair. And of course, it's consistent with her long dark hair and all the microscopic analysis on it. Her DNA is on that jacket, so there's really no need to do DNA on the hair because her DNA is already on the jacket in the form of blood. But they looked microscopically at her hair, and it's consistent with her hair. But the important thing they found about several of the hairs, I believe over 15 of them, is that they were forcibly removed from her head. They did do a sexual assault kit on Laken, and several things were tested. But the bottom line is her entire sexual assault kit was negative for male DNA. Her clothing was looked at with AP, P30, you'll hear about that. There was no semen present. However, her underwear was sent to the trace evidence section as well, where they concluded that her underwear had been forcibly torn.
Man, wow. Okay. So That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? We heard the evidence in this case. The case is still ongoing right now. It's still going live, you know, and things like that. And they're still discovering things. But I just want to bring this to you guys and things like that. You know, it's wild out here of what's going on, and the whole level of disrespect that, you know, is going on with this whole entire case. This is crazy to me that we actually have, you know, a legal on trial and getting all this, you know, y'all saw it yourself. You saw it yourself. Hold on here. You saw it yourself. You saw it yourself. Look at the legal team that this illegal has. At least 3 of them. This is the main guy right here with the stripy tie on, the yellow and blue striped tie. That was the dude that was talking. It's amazing to me that we are allowing these illegals to sit out here and have all this type of defense. Man, oh my goodness, man. What are we doing over here? What are we doing? It's sad, but it's the truth, man. It is sad, but it's the truth, man. Listen, look, man. Yeah, we're in dire straits in this country, man. And I hope we get our shit together. Cause yeah, we really don't have any choice to do so. Because with all this crazy stuff that's going on, all this chaos, Biden just allowed these people to, you know, be able to shoot certain types of missiles and things like that. Man, it's wild out here. But yeah, though, it is what it is, man. Hey, shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say, that, my friends, is the bottom line.